What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty. Join my Discord if you want to chat and share your thoughts, the link is in the description. 11 RG Chapter 306 Rox. Is the time up? Seeking full order? Hearing Rox's words, several people were stunned. Completely did not expect, Rox turned out to be such a condition. After the three were silent for a long time, Golden Lion spoke first. As long as our allegiance is to air, will you let go of the grievances of the year, Captain Rox? Allegiance to air is a condition. For Golden Lion, it is acceptable. Because in today's new world, there is really no one who can compete with air. It is indeed much better to be loyal to a strong man like air than to be destroyed by the rocks. Of course. 99 Hearing Rox's words, Golden Lion, Kaido, Charlotte Linlin glanced at each other. Then she made up her mind and was ready to say something. Air suddenly said at this moment, allegiance is unnecessary. To be honest, not even air thought of it at all. Rox wished, 800, to let go of the conditions that once had grudges, and it turned out to be like this. However, the allegiance of these people is actually completely unnecessary for air. Even said, it will bring trouble to air, because you know, there are not many pirates left in the new world today. If these big pirates, allegiance to him, belong to his banner, then, air's power will leap beyond everyone in this world. At this time, I will definitely not sit idly by. Air isn't afraid of I now. If there is a real fight, he thinks he has a 99% chance of winning. But, the remaining 1% is the uncertainty factor. Because he didn't know what devil fruit was eaten by who survived for 800 years. What kind of rule ability does the master have? Air, now, doesn't want a conflict with Anyway, not going to provoke him now, and he won't provoke After time drags on and he gains more abilities, the ultimate winner will definitely be him. Therefore, there is no need to rush to expand the power to attract attention now. Advertisement. This led to the early arrival of the final battle. In fact, it's a pity that air is now. If you buy all the abilities of Otsutsuki Kagaya in the system shop. He was planning to declare war with at this moment. However, because not all of Otsutsuki Kaguya's abilities are obtained. Therefore, at this time, he did not want to rashly start a war with Hearing Air's words, Golden Lion's face was full of doubts. They thought that Air had already negotiated with the rocks. As long as they declare their allegiance, then they can live. But now, the rocks want them allegiance, but Air refused. Not only did Golden Lion and the others have some doubts, but Rox also gave Air a surprised look. Right now, it is a great opportunity to bring Golden Lion and other pirates under Air's banner. With the help of these people, plus Air's unique strength, Rox believes that it is absolutely possible to overthrow the world government. Now, Air's refusal made him full of puzzlement. Air saw Rox's doubts and explained. You may not be aware that the world government not only has the 5 elders, but also an existence above them called Yimu. And I have played against that existence, and I still can't figure out her specific strength, so for the time being, I don't want to start a war with the world government. So, if this group of people follow me, it will only directly provoke war. I know you desperately want me to dominate the world Rox, but, not now. Hearing this unfamiliar name, Rox couldn't help frowning. He has lived in this sea for decades, but he has never heard of this name. As far as he knows, shouldn't the supreme leader of the world government be the 5 elders? When Golden Lion heard Yimu's name, he was also startled, and after thinking about it, he couldn't help but gasp in a breath. In this world, is there any character that can make Air jealous? Although it was also the first time he had heard of a mom's name. However, it can make men like Air feel a little bit jealous. He knew that the existence named was definitely not a simple guy. Kaido couldn't help but fell into contemplation. Air's strength, in his opinion, is already terrifying enough to even dominate the world. Advertisement. But I didn't expect that in this world, there is still the existence of a battle with Air. Rox was silent for a moment before speaking. Since this is your choice, I won't interfere, Air Zero. Since Air doesn't want to start that final war yet, he respects Air's choice. Anyway, he always believed that the man who finally stood at the top must be Air. And that so-called will definitely be pulled down by Air. Captain Rox, we are willing to fulfill the conditions you put forward, allegiance and follow Air, which means that the grievances between us have vanished. Although Air refused in the end, but, I think you will fulfill your promise just now, right? Charlotte Linlin suddenly interjected at this point. They did intend to follow the Rock's terms. In the end, however, Air refused. Charlotte Linlin is now a little scared. Because of Air's refusal, Rox abandoned the previous conditions and turned to attack them. Hearing Charlotte Linlin's words, the Rocks set their sights on her. That icy gaze made Charlotte Linlin stand upside down with hair all over her body. Rox did not embarrass the others, but calmly said, "Of course, I will fulfill the promise just now." Although Air rejected Golden Lion and others to follow. But no matter what, he definitely couldn't kill Golden Lion and others. Hearing Rox's words, Golden Lion, Charlotte Linlin, and Kaido all breathed a sigh of relief unconsciously. Since 4.3 Rox said so, then they are destined to have no life danger today. At this time, they couldn't help but feel fortunate, but after getting the news from Rox, he rushed to the country of Darasta non-stop, and now he has successfully been forgiven by Rox. At this moment, Whitebeard, who had been silent for a long time, was suddenly surprised. Captain Rox, your hand? Hearing Whitebeard's words, everyone turned their attention to Rox's hands. I saw that the flesh on Rox's hands had dissipated, forming a white bone. Not only that, the skin and flesh dissipated very quickly, and in a blink of an eye, the entire right arm of Rox had formed bones. Has the time come? Rox glanced at his hand and clenched the fist of his left arm. Now he can no longer feel the existence of his right arm. Chapter 307 The Departure of Everyone, please complete. What's the matter, Captain Rox? Why is your hand missing? The Golden Lion stared at Rox in amazement. Didn't Rox have been successfully resurrected by Air? Why now, it looks like he's going to turn into a skeleton again? Sure enough, the most forbidden power in this world is to resurrect the dead. Since it is an existence like Air, it is only a short-lived that he can successfully resurrect Captain Rox. Charlotte Linlin said, staring at Rox's disappearing flesh. In this world, there are things beyond miracles like devil fruit. Therefore, there are always people in this sea. Use devil fruit to do something beyond ordinary people's imagination. However, they have never heard of such a thing as the resurrection of the dead. Because of this kind of power that turns corruption into magical power, there are not even a few devil fruits that can be bestowed. But being able to resurrect the dead really shocked the whole world again. However, it seems that Air has the ability to resurrect the dead. But the resurrected people can't live for long. This is also in line with the theory of relativity in this world. Powerful abilities are always accompanied by shortcomings. Air glanced at Rox and said seriously, although it's only a short time to meet again after a long absence, but I will resurrect you later, Rox. I have to say, Rox's attitude towards him really surprised him. Who would have thought, the Rox who dominated the world in the old days. After being resurrected, he was so loyal to him. Not only did he think that he would eventually dominate the world, he even considered that after the Golden Lion and others were killed, the situation in this sea would not be good for him. Wonderful. It is to let go of grievances, put forward conditions, and let Golden Lion and others follow him. All the reasons are to make him king. Although the original Hokage ninja, the outsider Rinne Tensai technique, is for the practitioners. It does not have any spiritual impact. However, Air can also detect it after Rox's actions. The outsider Rinne Tensai technique he mastered definitely affected Rox's spirit. That's why a man like Rox is so loyal for himself. Rox is probably the most trusted and loyal person in the world. Therefore, for such a man, Air will definitely resurrect him again in the future. Of course, it is not a short-term resurrection. He will find a way. Let Rox be completely resurrected. Ha ha ha. Next time you wake up, I believe you have already stood in that position. Air, I'm looking forward to it. Rox laughed when he heard the words. After his death, his consciousness will fall into a deep sleep. When he wakes up next time, he will see the magnificent scenery of the world. Therefore, the Rox at this time are not lost because of the dissipation of vitality. Instead, full of expectations the moment the words fell, the vitality of Rox's whole body, as well as the flesh, all dissipated. It turned into a pile of bones and sat on a chair. Captain Rox. Looking at the bones in front of her, Charlotte Linlin's mood was a little complicated. Although the current Rox did die in front of them again. But Air also said just now that he will resurrect Rox again. That is to say, Air has the ability to resurrect Rox again. Although Charlotte Linlin was defeated by Air, she still has the idea of dominating the world and becoming the king. And Air alone makes her goal almost impossible to achieve. And he still has the ability to resurrect Rox at this time. At this time, she couldn't help feeling emotional. As a pirate, in front of existences like Air, she can't turn over at any time. Air glanced at the skeleton of Rox sitting in the chair, and was silent for a long time. Then he ordered a subordinate to come in and save Rox's corpse for the time being. In the future, he will find a way to resurrect Rox. Therefore, naturally, he cannot be buried again. After doing all this, Air turned his attention to Golden Lion and the others and asked. So, you guys, what's the matter? This group of people came because of the news of Rox's resurrection. Now that Rox is dead, this group of people must have nothing else to do. Advertisement. Hearing this, Kaido was the first to stand up and said solemnly. Air, if you ever want to start a world-class war, I'll help you. Kaido's wish is precisely to provoke a world-class war and bring down all the people of the world. Let the high celestial dragons fall from the altar and create a world where everyone is equal. Kaido had planned to start such a war with his own hands. However, he also knew that there were pirates at the level of air. Even if it was really turned on, it wouldn't be his turn at all. At the same time, he is also not clear that air will bring down the world government and then rule the world. Are equal. 1. Now he doesn't want to think about it so much. Because the most important point is that he cannot turn it on, only air can turn it on. And, in today's world, he loathes. In any case, he was looking forward to it. Will the world after air rule be different from now? Yes, Air said with a slight smile. He once stood in the perspective of God. Naturally, Kaido's dream is also clear. Advertisement. Almost the same as Luffy, all to create a free and equal world. Therefore, he is very clear that Kaido 800's words are true. This world disgusts me, and I hope that the world you rule in the future can be the world I see. After Kaido left this sentence, he left directly. Then, goodbye Air. Golden Lion didn't say much, but said hello and left. Although he is allied with Kaido, his wish is not to create a free and equal world. Until now, Golden Lion's ambitions have not changed. That is to be the king of this sea. Over time, a real war broke out between Air and the world government. Golden Lion's decision would not be the same as Kaido's to assist Air. Instead, we will wait and see how this war ends. Well, I'm staying soon too, Air. Charlotte Linlin, with a slightly mixed mood, also left. Today, only Whitebeard remains in the tavern. Then, do you have anything to say, Edward? 35. Air threw a bottle of fine wine to Whitebeard and asked. Gu la la la. It's just the three of them who have grudges with Captain Rox. I'm not here today for their purpose. In order to ask for his forgiveness, I just came to verify that he was resurrected. True and false. But now, this purpose is no longer necessary. Now I just want to have a few drinks with you. Chapter 308 Air's plan. The last time Whitebeard saw Air was at the Battle of the Holy Land Marijoy. Since then, Whitebeard has continued to develop his own power. And Air also sent his men to search for devil fruit in New World. There was no communication between the two. Now, Whitebeard has decided to come and verify the truth because of the resurrection of Rox. However, as he said, it doesn't matter whether the Rox resurrection is true or not. Right now, he just wanted to have a good drink with Air, who had been reunited for a long time. The two of us, indeed, haven't seen each other for a while, so let's not get drunk today, Edward. Air raised his glass slightly and smiled. Whitebeard was one of the few men in this world who really fit Air's appetite. For a man like him, Air didn't hate it, so, since Whitebeard wanted to catch up with him, he naturally wouldn't refuse. Certainly, Whitebeard laughed, then met Air for a drink. The two drank the wine in their hands, and Air wiped the corner of his mouth and said suddenly. By the way, Edward, I have something I need to ask you. 99. Oh, is there anything in this world that you can't do? Hearing this, Whitebeard asked with interest. With Air's current strength, there's hardly any place in the world he can't go. At the same time, because he has countless subordinates. Whenever Air wants something, it's almost impossible to find it. And it is such a man, and now he has to ask him one thing, which really surprises him. I want to look for something, but isn't it easier to find it if there are a lot of people, so I want to use your power. 5. Gu la la la. Let's be polite between us Air, if you have anything to say, just say it, I will do my best to help you complete it. I think, you should have read the Devil Fruit illustrated book and know something called Wangchen fruit. Air said bluntly. The yellow spring fruit is a devil fruit with an unusual bug in this pirate world. It has the ability to resurrect the dead. It can even bring the power of Master Wangchen after the dead are resurrected. Advertisement. Although the current Rox is dead, even if the yellow spring fruit is found, it cannot be taken. However, don't forget, Air is also a master of the outsider Rinne Tensai technique. Air's current master's outsider Rinne Tensai technique. The dead can be resurrected, and their strength can be slightly strengthened. Moreover, it can slightly affect the spirit of the resurrected person, so that they have extraordinary loyalty to the caster. And performing such ninjutsu will not have any effect on Air's vitality. But, this ninjutsu, the only two shortcomings are. The resurrected soul of the dead can only survive in this world for a week. Moreover, this ninjutsu cannot revive the dead infinitely, but has a limited number of times. Air intends, after finding the yellow spring fruit, bring Rox back to life with the outsider Rinne Tensai technique. Then eat Wangchen fruit for it. Kill Rox with your own hands. In this way, the soul that Rox was originally resurrected by the outsider Rinne Tensai technique will die. At this time, the bug ability of Wangchen fruit. The soul of Rox will be forcibly pulled back from the yellow spring. With the help of Wangchen fruit, it can achieve the effect of soul backtracking. In this way, Rox can achieve a true resurrection. And Rox isn't going to be a dead bone like Brooke. The reason why Brooke turned into a pile of bones is because after he died, he turned into a soul body. It took a year to find his corpse that had rotted into bones. After the death of Rox, he directly retraced his soul with the help of Wangchen fruit. The restored flesh that was originally resurrected by the outsider Rinne Tensai technique will naturally not rot. Wangchen fruit. I've seen this devil fruit in the Devil Fruit Illustrated book, but isn't this devil fruit a legend of the sea? So far I have never heard of it. Anyone eats it? This devil fruit. If nothing else, this devil fruit should not exist. Whitebeard rubbed his chin with his hand, thinking seriously. He had indeed heard of Wangchen fruit, but he had never heard of anyone eating this devil fruit. Advertisement: this devil fruit is for the legend of the sea, and no one has seen it before. Therefore, people think that this devil fruit should not exist. No, this devil fruit exists, and I'll let him recreate this sea before long. I don't know where it will appear, but I need your help to find it. The current person with the ability of the yellow spring fruit is the future One Piece crew member Brooke. 100 years ago, Brooke ate this devil fruit and was successfully reborn. And devil fruit's power also remained in Brooke's body. Air had already planned to kill Brooke himself by sending someone to the Grand Line's Devil's Tri-Sailboat. In this way, the host of the yellow spring fruit dies, and the fruit will reappear in the sea. Does such a devil fruit really exist? What kind of abilities do you have as a master to make such devil fruit reproduce the sea? Whitebeard was surprised when he heard this. Because of the yellow spring fruit, no one has heard of anyone eating it. In addition, this devil fruit, which can resurrect the dead, is too buggy. So even Whitebeard thinks that these devil fruits are fake. But unexpectedly, Air was so sure that the devil fruit was real. And there is a way to make this devil fruit reappear in this sea. Air's current strength, as well as ability, has become increasingly difficult for him to see through. So, do me a favor, Edward. 35 monies. Air doesn't explain much, but asks. I will definitely help you with this favor, but, if I guessed correctly, you are planning to use this devil fruit to resurrect Captain Rox, right, Air? The ability of the yellow spring fruit is to bring the dead back to life. And Air currently gets this devil fruit, which makes no sense at all. After all, now Air is alive and well, this devil fruit will not give Air any help. And just now, Air also said that Rox will be completely resurrected. However, Whitebeard could see that with Air's current abilities, he couldn't be completely resurrected. Now, Air has offered to let him help find the yellow spring fruit. So, Whitebeard guessed. Air wants to use the power of this devil fruit to completely resurrect Rox. You guessed it right, Edward. Chapter 309, Looking for Op Fruit, Obtaining the Power of Longevity. The reason why Air went to such great lengths to bring Rox back to life. It is entirely because of the special ability of the outsider Rinne Tensai technique. Affects the spirit of Rox. Plus, Air with absolute strength, Megatron Rox. So, let the Rox be extremely loyal to him, for such an extremely loyal man. Air is naturally interested in reviving it completely and letting it do things for himself. After hearing Air's affirmative reply, Whitebeard was silent for a few seconds, then said solemnly. What do you think? I will not ask too much, Air. Since this is your request, I will definitely let my children do my best to find it for you. As for what Air wants to do to resurrect Rox completely, Whitebeard could almost guess one or two. Therefore, he does not intend to continue to ask. Since Air wanted him to help find the yellow spring fruit, he naturally wouldn't refuse. Thanks a lot then, Edward. Air smiled slightly. Although he has many subordinates, his forces spread all over the world. However, Whitebeard is the strongest pirate group in the New World today. There are many affiliated pirate groups under it, and now the number has reached thousands. 800 has this group of people, helping to find it together can be said to be multiplier. As for why Air, he just asked Whitebeard to help him find the yellow spring fruit. Didn't ask Golden Lion at all. That's because, Air knew, if Golden Lion and the others knew that he was looking for the yellow spring fruit, then the group of them will definitely be looking for the whereabouts of this devil fruit in the sea. But, after they get it, they definitely won't give it to Air. After all, Air alone gave them the idea of invincibility. If Air brings Rox back to life, they know they're in a bad situation. Gu la la la. Let's be polite between us, Air. Whitebeard laughed. Today, let the two of us stay drunk, Edward. Air raised the glass in his hand and touched Whitebeard. The two drank a lot and exchanged a lot of greetings. From noon to night, Whitebeard hiccuped and suddenly thought of something and said. Advertisement, by the way, Air. I recently had an interesting new son named Marshall D. Teach, who has been wanting to see you, wondering if I can help him do that. 35. The Whitebeard Pirates, passing through a certain town in the New World. When he met Blackbeard when he was a child, Whitebeard saw him pitiful, so he took him in. Teach? Air was taken aback for a moment. Air is clear about this character. Because, the culprit behind the destruction of the Whitebeard pirates in the future is this guy. After being silent for a few seconds, Air spoke up. Edward, although I don't want to interfere too much with your ship's affairs, but, I still remind you, be careful of the strange guys on the ship. What Whitebeard had to say, it was the man Air liked. If the war in the future could be avoided, he would naturally have to speak up. Do you know this guy Teach, Air? Whitebeard heard the meaning of Air's words and asked. No, I don't think of him, just to remind you. Air shook his head slightly. He had stood in the perspective of God, and naturally he knew very well about Blackbeard. However, in this life, he has never met Blackbeard. If you say that you know it, the future is too difficult to explain. Air, do you really think that a certain child on our ship has a different heart? Whitebeard asked solemnly. Want to hear the truth, Edward? 35, you say it. Indeed there is. Hearing this, Whitebeard suddenly took a deep breath, and his expression became solemn. After a long silence, Whitebeard said solemnly. I see Air. He could hear what Air meant just now, that it was Blackbeard who had a different opinion on his boat. It's unclear, though, how Air knew Blackbeard had a different heart. Still, Whitebeard chose to take Air's word for it. Because of Air, he even has the ability to resurrect men like Rox. In his opinion, Air must have more extraordinary abilities as master. In the days to come, he would pay more attention to Blackbeard. Still, until Blackbeard shows his ambitions, he intends to treat him as he always does. In other words, he would be better for Blackbeard, trying to influence Blackbeard's unusual mind. Advertisement, then Air, let's go here for now, I'm already feeling a little dizzy, if I continue to drink, I'm afraid I'll need my children to help me back. Well, after all, I'm old, and compared to previous years, I'm already a little overwhelmed by alcohol. Whitebeard scratched his head and smiled. The plan was for Blackbeard to meet Air. However, now this is what happened. He also kept his mouth shut about this matter, and now he wants to go back for a while and think about the future. I won't send it, Edward. 99, gu la la la. Bye, Air. Whitebeard left this hearty laugh and left the tavern. Although it was late at night, Air was not sleepy for the time being. Because Whitebeard's inadvertent words, the old words, were still lingering in Air's mind. Air looked at his arm, which, though still very strong, didn't show the slightest wrinkle. However, it is no longer as immature as it used to be. Although he traveled from this world, he got the Sage of Six Paths system. And now have the full power of Sage of Six Paths. However, none of the Sage of Six Paths in the original Hokage ninja has ever lived. And he, naturally, did not gain the power of longevity. Although due to systemic reasons, the speed of his aging is slower than that of ordinary people. But he won't have a few decades, and I'm afraid he will age like everyone else. You need the power to become a master first to longevity. Air couldn't help thinking to himself. No matter how strong he is now, how much more capable he is. But still, there is no master to the strongest power, which is immortality. If you want to continue to survive in this world, you must have the power of the master, that is, immortality. In this pirate world, Air currently knows two powers that can immortalize people. Pure gold, respectively, and op fruit. Pure gold is a special kind of metal, and it is a legendary metal. The light radiated by pure gold can greatly stagnate the life rings in a person's body. That is, the life cycle of an ordinary person after 1 year has passed. A person who wears pure gold may only rotate for a few days because of the influence of the pure gold light. In this sense, the purpose of longevity is achieved. Chapter 310 Garp, Sengoku, Zephyr, Crane dispatched. As for op fruit, the ability of this devil fruit is not only bug. Moreover, the ability to eat can be at the expense of their own lifespan. Let the designated person gain the power of longevity. Nagli. Air shouted towards the door of the tavern. Kakaka. The door of the tavern opened slowly, and Nagli walked in, respectfully. Mr. Air, do you have any orders? Help me investigate the whereabouts of op fruit, and find a sea king's in the shape of a lantern on the sea. If you can find pure gold, that's fine. Just carry pure gold on your body, and Air can live forever. And if you don't find pure gold, you find op fruit. Well, just find a loyal subordinate and give him a lot of money. Let it eat op fruit and use it on Air to achieve immortality. Understood, Mr. Air. Nagli nodded. He didn't ask what Air told him to do. But after leaving this sentence, he left directly and told his subordinates to start working for Air. In a flash, a long time passed. During this period, the sea was quite peaceful. After all, Air and many other big pirates did not do much in this sea. Only redheads and many other rising stars are especially active in the sea. Meanwhile, naval headquarters is too much of a threat given the New World Air. And the number of big pirates is still not in the minority. Therefore, the Shichibukai system was held directly. Many of New World's up-and-coming pirates have become 7 warlords of the sea. Meanwhile, the Holy Land Marijoy, the highest meeting room. Many high-level naval headquarters, all gathered. Kong sat in the center and glanced at the man beside him. Advertisement, Dark Horse, report all the latest information, 35. The Dark Horse is the director of the Naval Headquarters Criminal Investigation Bureau, and a powerful and terrifying existence. Based on our investigation and evidence collection over the years, one thing that can be confirmed is that Air, the great pirate of the New World, is currently looking for the whereabouts of Op Fruit. YF2F. The Dark Horse glanced at the many high-level executives in the conference room, reporting. Op Fruit? Hearing this news, many high-level executives in the conference room all peeped at each other. Although Air has been dispatching his subordinates all over the world to find devil fruit. However, Air is what devil fruit wants. Never look for a specific devil fruit by name. Now, what is the purpose of Air's dispatch of subordinates to find Op Fruit? Before waiting for many high-level executives in the conference room to ask questions, the Dark Horse continued. According to our investigation, if nothing unexpected, the purpose of Air's search for Op Fruit should be to use the ability of this devil fruit to achieve the purpose of longevity. Longevity. Hearing the words of the Dark Horse, the crowd in the entire conference room suddenly became uneasy. Air, this monster, still wants to live forever? Garp asked with a heavy expression. Air's strength is particularly terrifying, and almost no one in the entire world can compete with it. And the ability is extremely numerous, and even in the early years, the existence of Rox was resurrected. Such terrifying characters, the current Marines dare not oppose them at all. They felt that the only chance of winning was to wait until Air got old and his physical strength decreased. Then it's up to the young Marines of their naval headquarters to deal with it. But now, this guy Air is still planning to find Op Fruit for immortality? Once it achieves this goal, the consequences are simply unimaginable. Definitely stop this guy Air from getting the Op Fruit, otherwise we Marine will never be able to defeat him and succumb to his shadow forever. Sengoku stood up abruptly and shouted. No wonder this guy Air has been so quiet on the sea all these years. I didn't expect him to have such a plan. Zephyr frowned and said coldly. They were still wondering why Air resurrected Rox. In this sea, there has been no movement. No one would have thought that Air had been searching for the whereabouts of Op Fruit during these quiet years. Want to get the power of longevity? Rest assured, Op Fruit, we will not let this guy Air get it. According to the information we have collected, we have now obtained the whereabouts of Op Fruit in the hands of Diaz Barreros. 35. Advertisement. The Dark Horse continues to report. Diaz Barreros is Father Drake, one of the supernovas of the future evil era. 0. For flowers katakana middle. Diaz Barreros was a Marine from Marine. Later, for unknown reasons, he betrayed Marine and became a pirate. When he accidentally got this devil fruit, he sold it to Marine at a very high price. The importance of Op Fruit, their Marine, is also clear. So, when getting the whereabouts of this devil fruit, they directly offered astronomical price of 10 billion. It is to prevent Diaz Barreros from selling devil fruit to others. After hearing the news reported by the Dark Horse, many high-level officials of naval headquarters breathed a sigh of relief. As long as they Marine can get this Op Fruit, then Air's wish for longevity will be dashed. Oh, the big stone in their hearts also fell to the ground. The importance of this devil fruit to us is self-evident, so I need to send you to the island where Ace Barreros is located to get that devil fruit. Kong stood up, glanced at the many Marine executives present, and said with a serious expression. No matter what, they have to get the devil fruit. However, in order to prevent any accidents on the way, a strong person must be dispatched. Just take down the devil fruit steadily. Let me go, Kong, I don't have anything else to do right now. Garp stood up first, offering. Recently, this sea has been very calm, the group of big pirates did not make any moves, and the group of up-and-coming pirates has become the 7 warlords of the sea under our naval headquarters. I believe that during this time, the sea will not something else big happens, so I'll go too. Sengoku also stood up and said. Let's go together then, Zephyr also said. Well, such a task doesn't take much time and energy, so I'll go too, Hidao. Garp, Sengoku, Zephyr, Crane, 4 people. They all plan to go to the island where Ace Barreros is located to get the devil fruit. Then, this task is left to the 4 of you, Kong nodded. Although the action of the 4 was a bit exaggerated, in order to completely prevent accidents, they steadily got the devil fruit. In this regard, Kong also agreed that the 4 would act together to beg. Chapter 311. Air goes to sea in person, please order. Meanwhile, on the other side, Drosta country. This country, though before, has been devastated by fighting. However, because Air was too lazy to change positions, he ordered the entire country to be restored as before. At this point Air was sitting on the shore fishing. Tread. 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 Not far away, there was a sound of footsteps. Air turned his head slightly, and saw Nagli standing behind him. Holding a treasure chest in his hand, he respectfully said before and after Air. Mr. Air, this is a devil fruit from Moria. I see, let it go. Air nodded slightly. The reason Moria dedicates devil fruit to Air. That's because many years ago, when Air was going to kill Brook and make the fruit of the yellow spring come back to the sea. When he came to Moria's territory, he was attacked by Moria's men outside, 800. Air had planned to kill all Moria's men, but Moria offered him a few devil fruits. He let it live, and so far, Moria is the second devil fruit he has found for him. Plus this one from Moria now. Air currently has 45 devil fruits. At the same time, there are 100 artificial devil fruit. 100 artificial devil fruit is equivalent to the exchange amount of 10 devil fruit. In other words, Air now has 55 devil fruits that can be exchanged for. However, the current products in the mall have not been refreshed. Air has also been collecting devil fruit to this day. Besides, there is an important piece of information that I want to report to you, Mr. Air, Nagli continued. Oh, Air turned his head when he heard the words, glanced at him and smiled slightly. Now Air is most interested in the yellow spring fruit, op fruit, and the whereabouts of the lantern fish. And Nagli, as Air's housekeeper, is also the person who understands Air best. Since it can be said from his mouth that there is important information to report, then it must be about the whereabouts of the fruit and the lantern fish. According to the information we got, a man named Diaz Barreros found op fruit. Nagli told the truth. Advertisement, Diaz Barreros? Years since this person found op fruit. So that is to say, in the current timeline, it is time for Luo to join Doflamingo. Before you know it, time flies by so fast. Today's Juan Luffy is almost a few years old. However, because of his existence, the future is bound to change. Brook was killed by Air himself, and Juan Luffy was equivalent to one less companion. Of course, even with many of these companions, Air didn't think that King Luffy would become One Piece in the future. Prepare a boat for me, and I'll go there myself. Air pondered the current timeline for a moment, and then gave an order. The importance of op fruit to him is self-evident. Therefore, he plans to go there in person and win this devil fruit steadily. At present, he has already cultivated several loyal subordinates who sacrificed their lives for them. Now Air, as long as you can get the op fruit, you can live forever. Wait a minute, Mr. Air, according to our investigation, this man named Diaz Barreros has already planned to sell this devil fruit to Marine. If nothing else happens, Marine will definitely send troops to take it. Get this devil fruit. Do I need to send some more powerful people to go with you? Nagli asked. Although they have been carefully and low-key looking for op fruit. But no matter what, I have been looking for many years in this sea. Marine's intelligence network, of course, also investigated the news that Air wanted to get op fruit. Today, the news of op fruit is on the sea, Marine side. Beware of them for sure, so send out the strong who are not weak. Go to the island where Diaz Barreros is located and get the devil fruit. Do you think this is necessary? Air put the fishing rod aside and said calmly. Air has completely unlocked the power of Sage of Six Paths many years ago. After that, most of Otsutsuki Kaguya's abilities were obtained. In today's world, Air really doesn't care about anyone. Marine sends the strong, so what? Advertisement if only I could meet those Marines on that island. Air didn't mind, and wiped out the group of Marines. I know zero. Nagli didn't say anything more, but started to prepare the boat for Air. A few days later, Grand Line, a certain island, in a room on the island. Several pirates are sitting together. Ha ha ha. 10 billion, 10 billion. As long as we can sell this devil fruit, we can get a full 10 billion Bailey, 35. Diaz Barreros laughed excitedly with the op fruit in his hand. Marine will arrive on this island in a short time. When the time comes to sell this devil fruit to them, we can enjoy a lifetime of glory and wealth. A pirate beside him also said excitedly. Fortunately, the guys from Marine contacted us in time, otherwise if Doflamingo was used as an intermediary to sell it to Marine, I am afraid that this B************ D would take a lot of intermediary fees. Originally they intended to contact the people at Naval Headquarters through Doflamingo as an intermediary. However, after they finished talking to Doflamingo, Naval Headquarters directly dialed their phone bug. Said to pay for this devil fruit. Therefore, after negotiating the price with Naval Headquarters, they dumped Doflamingo directly. They never answered the phone call from Doflamingo. Boom boom. While several people were talking, there was a knock on the door. Here, it's the people from the 4.3 Road Marine Corps. Diaz Barreros stood up excitedly and said. Kakaka. As the door slowly opened, it was not Marine who appeared in their sight. It was Don Quixote Rocinante, the younger brother of Doflamingo. At the same time, beside him, there was a young man in white clothes with white dust all over his body. He is none other than Trafalgaro in his youth. It's you. Diaz Barreros instantly became vigilant when he saw several people appear. Doflamingo is for today's 7 warlords of the sea in the New World. And Rocinante, as his younger brother, is naturally quite famous. Damn, it's that B********************************** D Doflamingo, let you come, in order to get this devil fruit, sent you here to silence us? Chapter 312 Luo who got op fruit as previously, they were going through Doflamingo as an intermediary. Sell this devil fruit to naval headquarters. In this way, Doflamingo can also draw a lot of money from it. However, because of the call from naval headquarters, they dumped Doflamingo directly. Let it earn less than a little intermediary fee. Now Rocinante appears. They thought Doflamingo had sent them, in order to kill them all, and then take away the devil fruit. Sell it to Marine personally to get tens of billions of Baileys. It wasn't Doflamingo who sent me here, but my purpose is indeed the devil fruit. Rocinante lit a cigarette and said calmly. Formerly Rocinante, Marine had placed Doflamingo's undercover agent. Today, Doflamingo has become Shichibukai, and his relationship with Marine also faded a lot. Although he knew that this op fruit was very important to Marine. However, what he values most now is the child beside him, namely Luo. Today's Luo has not lived for a long time because he was infected with lead disease. The power of op fruit must be used to save him. So, after he got word of op fruit from Doflamingo, he took Luo directly, took one step closer to Doflamingo, and found this place. Do you want this devil fruit? Then pay for it, 10 billion Baileys, otherwise, I won't talk about it, Diaz Barreros said fiercely. I don't have any money on me. Rocinante, throwing the cigarette in his mouth on the ground, said indifferently. Damn, you be ***************** D. When the group of pirates heard his words, they instantly became furious. You know, op fruit can sell 10 billion Baileys. As long as they can successfully sell to Marine, they don't need to be pirates anymore. But you can enjoy a lifetime of glory and wealth. Now that Rocinante wants to rob, how could they make it happen? Just as Diaz Barreros and other pirates want to attack Rocinante. There was laughter in the distance. Advertisement. Foo. I said why you suddenly disappeared, and you were here. 5. Hearing this familiar voice, Rocinante's pupils narrowed and he looked back. I saw Doflamingo and the cadres approaching here. Damn. Rocinante had a cold sweat on his forehead and felt bad. His original plan was to beat Diaz Barreros and then steal the op fruit. Feed this devil fruit to Luo and let it live, but now that Doflamingo is here, he knows that this wish will not come true. Rocinante, Dover regards you as his most important family member. Do you want to take this op fruit from Dover without saying hello? Toripel sneered with a runny nose. Ever since they got the whereabouts of op fruit from Diaz Barreros. Doflamingo's idea is not just to be an intermediary and earn some intermediate fees, but to grab the devil fruit directly. The purpose of getting the devil fruit is to save that guy's life, right? I really plan to get that op fruit, then feed it to him, and make it my right-hand man. 5. However, Marine is very interested in this devil fruit, and even set a sky-high price. Now I plan to sell that devil fruit to Marine. Doflamingo glanced at Rocinante and said calmly. Doflamingo, the former Celestial Dragons, naturally got some news from the world government. That is op fruit, even the strongest pirate heir of the New World is watching. If he dared to feed Luo this devil fruit, not to mention that Marine wouldn't let him go. I am afraid that a man like Air will directly destroy his entire force. Doflamingo, but in Logue Town, saw with his own eyes, Air's near invincible performance. Therefore, he will not give this devil fruit to Luo. Instead, he planned to sell this devil fruit to Marine and get Bailey at that price. If sold to Marine, Luo will die. 95 Rocinante stared at Doflamingo earnestly. If you don't give it to Marine, we'll all die, including you, including me. Doflamingo looked serious. Damn it, Rocinante, with a heavy face, glanced at Diaz Barreros, who was holding devil fruit in his hand. Advertisement afterwards, his heart sank, and he snatched devil fruit directly. Run, Luo. He pulled Luo directly, trying to escape from this place. But in the next second, his body seemed to be frozen in place, unable to move. You don't understand how much disaster this devil fruit will bring us, Rocinante. Doflamingo, with blue veins on his forehead, walked towards Rocinante step by step. Today, this op fruit has no other options besides being taken away by Marine. Let Luo and Rocinante take this devil fruit away. With Air's intelligence relationship, it can definitely be investigated. When the time comes, Xingxi will be guilty, and all of them will die. Run, Luo. Although Rocinante was held in place, he shouted at Luo. After a short time with Luo, he has long regarded him as his most important family member. Luo heard Rocinante's shouting and ran to 800 without looking back. Doflamingo did not go after Luo directly, but slowly approached Rocinante with a gloomy expression. You know, Rocinante, I have always regarded you as my closest brother and my most important family member, but recently I have suddenly received some news. That's the old you, who was connected to those guys at naval headquarters. Now Doflamingo, because has become 7 warlords of the sea. So Marine wouldn't come to trouble him. However, in the past few years, he would not mention Marine's pursuit all the time. So what, a scum like you should have died long ago, Rocinante growled. The scene of Doflamingo killing his father with a gun in those days lingered in his mind and could not be forgotten. That's why he hated Doflamingo for so many years. You should know that the bottom line of our family is betrayal. When Doflamingo heard this, the veins on his forehead burst, and he said angrily, From the day I betrayed you, I have thought of this ending. Seeing that Luo had escaped from his sight, Rocinante was now dead without regret. Boom! Doflamingo, straight from his waist, drew his gun and aimed it at him. Without much hesitation, Rocinante, his closest family member, was executed directly. Chapter 313 The Worries of Sengoku and Others, Chase. After the execution of Rocinante, Doflamingo waved his hand slightly, signaling his men to go after Rocinante. But the next second, he felt an incomparably terrifying coercion shrouding him. That terrifying aura, he was all too familiar with it, was Conqueror's Haki. Doflamingo's forehead was startled with cold sweat, and when he looked back, he saw his subordinates, all of whom had turned white and fainted. Pa! Conqueror's Haki? In today's world, there are Hakis of this level, and there is only that man, sure enough. Did you come here in person to get this devil fruit? Doflamingo's tone trembled as he looked at the location on the coast in the distance. At this time, air did not land on the island, but the Conqueror's Haki that appeared, directly enveloped the entire island. The terrifying sense of oppression directly stunned all Doflamingo's men. At this time, he couldn't help but feel fortunate. Fortunately, he showed up here in time today, preventing his brother from getting the op fruit. Otherwise, once Rocinante gets op fruit, it will definitely be fed to Rocinante. At that time, their entire family will be devastated by the monster air. Meanwhile, on the other side of the island, a marine warship was docked here, and it was no one else standing on the bow of the warship. It is the 4 top fighting forces of naval headquarters, Sengoku, Garp, Zephyr, Crane. Damn, strong Conqueror's Haki, is that the monster air? 5. Even though they were now separated from air, an entire island's distance. But he can still feel the unparalleled Conqueror's Haki. In today's entire world, men with such terrifying Conqueror's Haki are extremely rare. And can appear on this island at this time node. Then there is only one possibility, it is air who casts such Conqueror's Haki. Air. This B********************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************* At the same time that our marine got news of Op fruit, this guy also got news of Op fruit. Garp looked solemn, looked at the distant horizon, and said solemnly. Although they took this Op fruit steadily for the sake of insurance this time. The 4 strong men of naval headquarters are dispatched at the same time. Advertisement, however, facing a terrifying opponent like Air, even if the 4 of them join forces, there is not much chance of winning. After all, since Rox was resurrected, and they get word that Air can wield powers beyond the battle at the Holy Land Merijoy. That kind of incomparable, absolute combat power that surpasses everyone else. Even the 4 of them don't think they can beat Air. What should I do? Air is definitely near the island. If he goes to the island, he might run into him. Zephyr asked a few people around him. Now, in the whole world, the enemy Zephyr is most unwilling to face is Air. Even now, his strength has reached an astonishing level. But the shadow of the battle in the Holy Land Merijoy still hangs over him. More importantly, according to the news they got, Air can even unleash a power that surpasses that of the battle of the Holy Land Merijoy. What level of Air's strength has reached now? This is something Zephyr can't imagine at all. He didn't want to fight Air if he could. After Sengoku was silent for a few seconds, his eyes were firm. In any case, the monster Air must not be allowed to get the Op fruit. Air's strength is already strong, and it seems to have no upper limit, and he can continuously improve his strength. Today, his strength is enough to be called the strongest in the world. Sengoku can't imagine that if Air gets the Op fruit, the master will be after the power of immortality. What level of strength will he reach? So, today anyway, they have to stop Air from getting the Op fruit. Even at the cost of life, Sengoku is right. If Air gets the Op fruit, then we will never have a chance to defeat this monster. Even this guy may overthrow the world government in the future, Crane echoed. Let's go together then. Zephyr took a deep breath, his eyes firm. Although he was reluctant to face monsters of air's level. But, now is not the time to back down. Crane, when you go to the island, if you get the op fruit, you can leave alone with the devil fruit, and the three of us will hold air back. Garp glanced at the crane beside him and warned seriously. Advertisement: if they fight, they don't think they have much chance of winning. But, as Sengoku said, no matter what, they have to stop air from getting the power of op fruit, master to longevity. Backquote: I see. Crane nodded, although he knew, if he would leave a terrifying existence like air to Sengoku, Garp, and Zephyr to deal with. All three are likely to die at the hands of air, but now is not the time to talk about friendship. They have to prepare for the worst and bring the op fruit back to safety. The four looked at each other, then anchored the boat on the coast, and then went to the island at the same time. Meanwhile, on the other side, Doflamingo moved all the men who were stunned by air conquerors into the hut next to him. As soon as he emerged from the hut, he saw a figure approaching here. That figure was none other than air. Sure enough, you are the only one who can have the conqueror's haki. Doflamingo swallowed and looked at air, who appeared in front of him. 7 warlords of the sea, Dover, Monies, Lumingo? Air glanced at him calmly. No, I resigned from the position of 7 warlords of the sea some time ago, and now I am a so-called pirate like you. Hearing Air's words, Doflamingo's back went cold and he quickly rejected it. Although he became the 7 warlords of the sea, he was still a pirate at heart. Only, they need to work for naval headquarters, and Air, as the strongest pirate in New World, is also the most troublesome enemy of naval headquarters. At the same time, in Doflamingo's view, Air must have regarded naval headquarters as a headache enemy. So, if you don't say that you have resigned from 7 warlords of the sea. He was really scared now. Air suddenly took action and executed him, the man who worked for naval headquarters. After all, as the 7 warlords of the sea, he is also the enemy of Air. Chapter 314: Whereabouts of op fruit, where? 99. Air questioned. He didn't care if Doflamingo resigned from 7 warlords of the sea. Because of the top combat power of the naval headquarters today, he didn't take it seriously at all. What's more, just Doflamingo as the 7 warlords of the sea. What Air can say for sure is that op fruit is currently on the island. And now, since Doflamingo is also on this island, that is to say, the other party must know the whereabouts of op fruit. Op fruit was taken away by Luo. It is estimated that he has been stunned by your conquerors. He should still be on this island. Doflamingo said truthfully. Even his subordinates can be directly stunned by Air's conqueror's haki. Not to mention Luo. The future Luo, indeed, has a very strong TN 800 endowment and combat power. But now, a teenage kid at best, how could he possibly resist Air's conqueror's haki? Advertisement. Air glanced at Doflamingo lightly, then walked towards the depths of the island. Watching Air's figure gradually leave, Doflamingo breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, Air didn't have the slightest idea of him, but Fan Air had a little bit of murderous intention for him. So today, it is absolutely impossible for him to leave this place alive. Doflamingo turned his head and went back inside. At this time, the subordinates who were stunned by Air Conqueror's haki had almost all woken up. They stood up slightly and glanced around in surprise. What happened to Dover? Torpil glanced around suspiciously. All he remembered was that Doflamingo killed Rosinante with 1 shot. But in the next second, his consciousness blurred directly. When he woke up again, he found himself in the hut next to him. Just now. How did I pass out? Pika was also puzzled. Here's that monster Air, you guys are stunned by his haki. Doflamingo sat in a chair beside him and opened an unopened bottle of fine wine. Advertisement. Air. Hearing Doflamingo's words, many pirates couldn't help but take a deep breath. Although they have heard Air's name countless times. But for this level of existence, they are still full of fear and awe. Sure enough, op fruit is extremely important to this monster, Diamante said solemnly. It's hard to imagine how chaotic this sea will be if this monster uses the power of op fruit to gain immortality. I think, if this happens, it must be beneficial to us. Doflamingo smiled slightly. Now Air is a great threat. It can make the world government and the top powerhouses of naval headquarters extremely fearful. It is conceivable that if Air gets the power of immortality, his threat will be a little bigger again. Doflamingo guesses. At that time, the naval headquarters and the world government will use all their forces, used against Air. By then, the situation must be a lose-lose situation. In other words, on the side of Air and Marine, someone must fall into this sea. As a result, the lack of top combat power in this sea is naturally beneficial to their middle-level combat power. Chapter 315: Doflamingo's thoughts. Doflamingo's future goal is to become the Pirate King. Therefore, he is naturally very happy to see that the top combat power of this sea is lacking. By the way, since air will arrive on this island at this time, doesn't it mean that marine is currently on this island? Torpal said. Both marine and air's intelligence gateways are extremely strong. Today, air can reach the island non-stop, and with marine's emphasis on op fruit, he must have dispatched strong men. If marine was also on this island, maybe we could watch a world-class war with our own eyes, Pika said. Air wants op fruit, but longevity, and marine in order to get the op fruit, in order to prevent air from growing. Therefore, once the two sides meet, there will be no concessions for op fruit. At that time, a battle is bound to start. Hearing Pika's words, the surrounding people fell into deep thought. If you continue to stay on this island, you will have the opportunity to witness a war of the century. But, watching that level of battle, they are likely to be affected to the point of being life-threatening. Advertisement. Although it will be dangerous to watch, but before us, the world-class battle, how can we miss it? Diamante reminded. That's right, seeing this kind of war would be considered death without regret, and if they really fight, we just need to stay away. Several people around agreed. They don't know if air and marine will ever meet on this island. However, they do not intend to leave the island for now. If air fights marine, then they will witness world-class warfare. If they didn't fight, it would just be a waste of time for them. There will be no loss. At the same time, a certain area of the island. Tread, Garp, Sengoku, Zephyr, and Crane brought many marines to the center of the island. It looks like a child is lying in front of me. Zero, ask for flowers. Advertisement. Zephyr was the first to notice Luo lying on the ground, who had fallen into a coma, and reminded him aloud. Look, he's holding a fruit in his hand that looks like op fruit, 35 Sengoku exclaimed. They came this time for op fruit. Therefore, they naturally learned the shape of this devil fruit from the devil fruit illustration. 0.00 After Sengoku's observation, it was determined that the unconscious Luo was holding nothing else. It's the op fruit they've been thinking about. You can't go wrong, that's the op fruit, Garp exclaimed. Quick, take the op fruit away, and we'll leave here quickly, he reminded. As soon as they reached the coast, they felt a wave of conquerors' hockey sweeping across the island. From this, it is certain that air must also be on this island. However, they haven't met air yet, but they found op fruit first. In this way, their purpose has been achieved. You don't have to stay on this island for a long time, but you can leave and go back for business. Beg. Chapter 316. The terrifying conquerors. Everyone quickly came to Luo, and then put away the op fruit in his hand. Sengoku looked at Luo in front of him, resting his chin in his hand in thought. If I remember correctly, this little guy should be one of Doflamingo's men, named Trafalgaro, 39. Although I don't know why he is lying here, what should I do with this guy? Should I take it back or? Today's weather, it is snowing, under this cold and freezing weather. Luo, who was in a coma, continued to lie here. There is no doubt that he will lose his life due to the cold. Since this guy is here, it means that Guy Doflamingo is also on this island. After all, this guy is a child of the Doflamingo family. Although he is young, but 800 is indeed a pirate, although it is not clear what happened to Doflamingo's family that would let the child Trafalgaro hold the op fruit, lie in this ice and snow. Dream. However, regarding their family's affairs, we should not interfere for the time being. The op fruit has been obtained, and now all we have to do is to leave this place quickly, take this op fruit and go back for business. 35. He stared at Luo in front of him, and spoke out his opinion. They came to this island today, and the most important purpose was to bring back the op fruit. Now, op fruit is in hand. As for what will happen to Luo, although they are a little worried. However, the other party is a pirate after all, and they are marine. The best thing to do is not to interfere in the internal affairs of the Doflamingo family. That's right, let's go. Sengoku nodded. If the person lying in front of their marine today was just an ordinary child, then they will naturally bring it back to naval headquarters, and certainly not let it die in this place. But the problem is, Luo has joined Doflamingo's family and become a pirate. To become a pirate, of course, you must also have the comprehension of a pirate. They marine, anyway, wouldn't help a pirate, even if the other party is just a child. Several people glanced at Luo a little, and without too much hesitation, holding the op fruit, they quickly ran towards the coast. But before they could move their footsteps, an incomparably terrifying collapse suddenly enveloped them. That unparalleled sense of oppression, like the sky, carries endless terrifying power, shocking them. Advertisement. They only felt a force that was unimaginable to them, approaching Tinling Guy, causing their souls to tremble. Boom. 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 Except for Garp, Sengoku, Zephyr, and Crane, the other marines, almost all of them with white eyes, fell to the ground and fell into a deep coma. This is Conqueror's Haki. Okay. Such a strong Haki. There is only that man who can have such a Haki. He is very close to us. 35. Damn, we just got the op fruit. Have we been found by that B****************** d'Air? Damn it, if you gave us a little more time, we should have boarded the battleship and left by now, but why is it at this time? Those Marines, who had not been stunned, looked into the distance in horror. You know, Marine, who followed Garp and others out to sea this time. The minimum is the strong man in the naval headquarters rear admiral position. But beneath Air's terrifying Conqueror's Haki, all the powerhouses in the rear admiral position were stunned. Even a lot of vice admiral from naval headquarters was directly stunned by that Haki. Only some veteran vice admiral can resist the incomparable Haki, barely standing. At this moment, they can be described as terrified to the extreme. Obviously they have successfully obtained op fruit from Luo. At this time, as long as you give them another minute, they can successfully reach the coast. Then drive the battleship and leave this place, but unfortunately, Air has come. Tread, in this snowy forest. There was a crisp, ear-piercing sound of footsteps. Everyone looked in that direction with breathless eyes. They saw an extraordinary-looking man slowly appearing in their sight. The visitor is none other than Air, the strongest pirate in the New World today. Long time no see, Garp, Sengoku, Zephyr, Crane. Air looked at the four people in front of him and greeted them politely. Today's Garp, Zephyr, Sengoku, and Suru are not all simple characters. Advertisement: he is one of the strongest people in the world today. The alliance of the four has the terrifying power to destroy the world. But, faced with such four people, Air is not afraid at all. After all, he has great confidence in his own strength. Not to mention the powers that Otsutsuki Kagaya has acquired. The power of Sage of Six Paths alone is enough to support him and defeat the four in front of him. Sure enough. Are you here? A trace of cold sweat appeared on Sengoku's forehead, and his eyes stared at Air. Damn, since it's here, then we need to follow the plan. 5. Garp clenched his fists tightly, stared at Air with war intent in his eyes, and said solemnly. Before they landed on the island, they had already made a plan. That is, if you meet Air when you get op fruit. Then Garp, Sengoku, and Zephyr hold Air down, and then let the Crane take the op fruit back. Come on, Crane, bring the op fruit back safely, we'll stop this guy, Zephyr yelled at Crane. I see. Hearing the three people's words, the Crane did not hesitate, took the op fruit and ran into the distance. But in the next second, Crane's body felt a terrifying 4.3 force. That terrifying gravitational force firmly controlled his body, making her completely unable to move. This is exactly what comes from Air's ability, universal pull. For the designated target, there is an extraordinary and terrible gravitational force. Regardless of the Crane, he has an exceptionally good combat power. But under the attraction of universal pull, it was completely immobile. How can you guys leave this place with op fruit? Air looked at the few people in front of him and said indifferently. You know, he has been looking for op fruit for about 10 years. Now, op fruit is so close at hand, how could he let the Crane take such things away? Air, we will never let you. You be **************************************** D. Get the op fruit. Garp yelled at him. Chapter 317 Air vs Garp, Sengoku, Zephyr. Just a few of you can stop me? Air sneered. Today, unless Kong, Dark Horse, Akainu, Kazaru, Aokiji and others come together. Still barely have a fight with him, but now, it's not enough to see Garp and others in front of him. As for the group of Marine Vice Admiral behind Garp and others, it is even less worth mentioning. Beneath Air's Conqueror's Haki, they barely stood still. Their existence will not have the slightest influence on the finality of this battle. Don't underestimate us. Garp took off the cloak of justice behind him. Then he shrugged his sleeves and tie, and stared at Air with a solemn expression. Let's go together. The three of us must stop the B************** d'Air in 03, and let the Crane bring the op fruit back successfully. Zephyr clenched his fists, and his eyes filled with killing intent. They knew that, based on the three of them alone, they might not be Air's opponents. However, they have no choice, since today there will be huge danger, and even the possibility of death. But, even so, advertisement and definitely can't let monsters like Air get the power of op fruit, master to longevity. Let the three of us be your opponents. Air, with us here, don't even try to get close to the Crane. 35 Sengoku clenched his fists and said with a cold expression. As Sengoku's words fell, he stomped and charged towards Air quickly. Ultimate speed, and even the sound of breaking the air came from the air. Today's Cranes are kept in place because of Air's ability to use universal pull. So he had to get close to air as soon as possible, so that he could not continue to release that ability. So that the crane can quickly escape from this place. Seeing that Sengoku has rushed towards air, Garp and Zephyr did not hesitate at all, and charged directly towards air. The speed of the three is extremely fast, and an afterimage can be seen flashing through the air. The three of them, like shooting stars, arrived in front of air in an instant. Air. The three appeared in the left, right, up, and three directions of air. I saw that their fists were covered with terrifying armed colors and conqueror's hockey, and then they waved their fists and attacked air with the power of thunder, and the terrifying momentum showed from the three of them. Advertisement: the strength of the three is not weak, not even inferior to the five elders, the top leader of the world government. With 5 people working together, almost no one in this world can stop their attack. The combination of the three of them has the power to destroy almost everything. It's really troublesome. Can't it be smooth sailing today? Air looked at the 3 people, the approaching figures, and said a little helplessly. He had no interest in the few people in front of 813. It would be a good thing for Air if it could directly bring its op fruit back without any extras. But now, smooth sailing is doomed to be impossible. Now he wants to get op fruit. You must first defeat the alliance of Sengoku, Garp, and Zephyr, and then snatch the op fruit from Crane. Choke. Without any hesitation, Air pulled out the blade from his waist. What he held in his hand was the supreme swift sword. Rox died, and the opponent's knife had naturally fallen into his hands now. Chapter 318: The Terrifying Confrontation. Please complete the order. Bring it on. Holding the air of Zanshin in his hand, he climbed to the top with all his aura. At this time, the momentum exuded from his whole body. It is as ferocious as a ghost, very deterrent, and shocking. God falls. Air let out a light ZHA, and then the veins on his arm appeared, and then he wrapped the power of armament hockey and conqueror's hockey around the blade. Above the blade, there is a strange black light, like an evil ghost that is eyeing at him. To Garp, Sengoku, Zephyr 3, exuding the ultimate death threat. Shoo. Air's arm was hard, and he swung a knife directly at the 3 people in front of him. The blade slid across the space, and there was a violent explosion. The space seemed to be cut off by his knife. The sword chi emitting from the blade made the surrounding space slightly distorted. A black sword chi that was dominating the sky and the Jedi completely attacked, and the instant the sword chi flew, it directly transformed into a black dragon with a bloody mouth and roared towards the 3 of them. Advertisement: in the face of Air's sword energy, Garp and the others flashed a hint of astonishment on their faces. They didn't even think that Air's current strength had reached such a level. With just a single knife, he possesses such a terrifying aura that shocks the world. But now is not the time to back down. The battle has already started. They don't want to be able to beat Air, or at least hold Air. Let the crane successfully take the op fruit and escape from this sea. Come on, Air. Garp growled. Together with Sengoku and Zephyr, they almost tried their best to attack the black dragon in front of them. Boom. Along with the fists of the 3, they collided with the black dragon sword energy that Air hit. In an instant, the incomparably terrifying momentum resounded directly through the sky, and the dark clouds in the sky were shaken away. The snowflakes falling from the sky have stirred up the sky again. Wave ripples visible to the naked eye almost swept the entire island. The area within a radius of several hundred meters, whether it is ground level or trees. Advertisement or the snowflakes accumulated on the ground are all shaken above the sky. Boom. Just as the group of Marines watching the battle were in a daze. The next second, a sound strong enough to pierce the eardrums entered their ears. Then they saw that a huge pit appeared in the center of the battlefield, sending up smoke and dust all over the sky. It even covered the falling snow. Hey, isn't it? Who was kicked out? Yeah, it should be that guy Air, he was kicked out. I also think that Air was kicked out, after all this battle, but Garp Vice Admiral, Zephyr Admiral, Sengoku Admiral 3 teamed up to deal with him. Although this guy is amazing in strength, it seems that he is not invincible. Good money. Looking at the huge deep pit in front of him, Marine, who was watching, talked a lot. Due to the smoke and dust in the center of the battlefield, they could not immediately find out who was kicked out. However, they were still Marines, so naturally they couldn't help feeling the best. It was Garp and others who joined forces to knock Air out. As the smoke and dust rising from the center of the battlefield slowly dissipated, the group of Marines, who had not been happy for a long time, were shocked into a cold sweat. Chapter 319: Falling into the Leeward Sea, required. Come on, just kidding, it was Zephyr Admiral who got kicked away. They saw that it was not Air standing in the middle of the pit, but Admiral Zephyr of their naval headquarters. Hey, what's the matter with this guy's strength? It's too exaggerated. 99. In the case of Garp Vice Admiral, Sengoku Admiral, Zephyr Admiral, the 3 teamed up, Zephyr Admiral was knocked out after just one move? This monster, shouldn't it be invincible? Even if we join forces with the three top forces of naval headquarters, it is still not his opponent. Looking at the translation standing above the big pit, with a wound. The group of Marines was directly shocked, terrified, and scared to the extreme. Although I heard countless legends about air, and just now, I felt it personally, Air's 813 is unparalleled and terrible conqueror's hockey. But, legends are legends after all, and hockey can't decide everything in their eyes. In their opinion, Air's strength must be very strong. But Garp, Sengoku, Zephyr, all of them are the top fighting forces of their naval headquarters. With the three of them working together, the confrontation with Air didn't even have the upper hand. Instead, Zephyr was knocked back. Now they're somewhat unimaginable. Advertisement Air's strength has reached an amazing level. Added. Damn. Zephyr stared solemnly at Air in front of him, his eyes full of horror. When Air fired his sword energy just now, he fought with Sengoku and Garp together. But unfortunately, the power of that sword energy was too terrifying. Even if the three of them joined forces, they still couldn't completely offset the sword energy. And he is slightly inferior to Garp and Sengoku because of his strength. Therefore, he was slightly injured by the sword energy. Although the sword chi did not hurt him too badly. But, they're the three of them working together. They knew that if the three of them joined forces, it would be difficult for them to be Air's opponent. But they never thought that the strength gap between them and Air would be so big. The current Air has not yet used the power of 10 Tails Jinchuriki. Become a real sage of 6 paths. Air's current strength alone is enough to gain the upper hand. Advertisement Zephyr at this time has been unimaginable. If Air draws on the power of the 10 Tails, he becomes the full power of Sage of 6 Paths. The power. How far it will reach, how's the injury Zephyr? Garp, who was beside him, asked worriedly. It's not a big problem, but today is destined to be an extremely difficult battle. 55. Zephyr took a deep breath. With his current terrifying strength, this injury is for a man like him. It's really nothing. But the battle had just begun, before Air had used his full strength. They fell into a slight disadvantage. The next battle, Zephyr can already imagine how tricky it will be. It's a really tough fight, but anyway, even if we're giving our lives for it today, we must stop Air from getting the op fruit. Sengoku is serious and serious. Military. Chapter 320 Crane joins the war. I'll come too. Just as the three of them were ready to attack Air, Crane suddenly spoke up. After Sengoku heard the Crane's voice, he was slightly startled, and then said seriously. Crane, your mission is to return with op fruit, not to engage in this dangerous battle. 5. The three of them gave their lives to stop Air today, in order to let the Crane take the op fruit back safely. I thought that the three of them had already dragged on for a while, and the Crane had already left. But unexpectedly, the Crane never left from the beginning, but stood by and watched the battle together. Yeah, Crane, although Air is a very powerful monster, the three of us alone can hold him back, Zephyr also advised him. Air's current strength is indeed beyond their imagination. Even just a single shot of sword energy made the three of them difficult to stop, and even gave him some injuries. But, no matter how strong Air is, it has never reached the point where he can kill them in seconds. In this case, they have absolute certainty that they can hold back Air. Come on Crane, bring back the op fruit, as long as this mission is completed, even if we die here, it will be worth it, Garp shouted at Crane. Advertisement compared with their own lives, they value op fruit more. They knew that even if the three of them died here today. In this sea, Air will not occupy absolute dominance, that is, he will not be able to dominate the world. But if Air succeeds in getting the op fruit, then he will live forever. Neither the Marines nor the world government can do anything about Air. Because, Air's influence spreads all over the world. Even if the world government, and all the top powerhouses in naval headquarters, come out in full force. At this time, Air can also choose to avoid the battle. Air's talent is extremely strong, and even has no upper limit. Once Air gets the op fruit and hides it, when he next showed up, they thought. I am afraid that the legendary Yimu will not be able to defeat such an opponent. They are willing to give up their lives in exchange for the power that Air cannot live forever. After thinking about it carefully, I still decided not to leave. Today, I will either get rid of this guy Air, or the four of us will fall here together. He shook his head slightly. Advertisement 0. For flowers. Originally, she did want to leave with op fruit. Then give the opponent Air to Garp, Sengoku, and Zephyr. But after focusing on the battle just now, she changed her mind. She knew that if she left this place by herself today, the three Garp will definitely die at the hands of Air. In the end, she still can't let go of the friends she has been with for decades. So, today she plans to be self-willed once, be alone, and join forces with Garp, Sengoku, Zephyr, and Crane. The four fight air together. If they win, the Marine will take down the toughest man in the world. And if they fail, the Op fruit is taken by air, and they will die for it. It can be said that this is a huge battle that is enough to affect the world. Either victory or defeat. The impact on this world will be beyond consideration and limitless. Beg. Chapter 321. The top battle begins. Little Crane. Hearing the Crane's words, Garp's face fell into silence. He naturally knew what the consequences would be if the Crane stayed here to fight. However, he was unable to speak again at this time, and let the Crane leave here. Because of Crane's departure, the three of them will be doomed to die in battle. And if you stay here, the victory of the battle will add a hint of possibility. August 13th, and the consequences of defeat will be extremely serious. Have to say, now they are Marine. Now I'm really being forced into a desperate place by the monster air. Since you want to stay, come fight with us, Crane. Sengoku thought deeply and nodded. Even if the four of us join forces, the chance of winning a head-to-head match with air is not high. But if Suru intends to stay here, then if we can rely on Suru's devil fruit to successfully touch air, we might be able to. There is a chance. Zephyr looked at the three of them and said solemnly. Crane's devil fruit is the fruit of washing. It can cleanse the sins of a person's heart. Advertisement at the same time, the washing fruit of the Crane has been developed after so many years. It has long been developed to the point of ultimate, and the enemies she touches will not only be purged of their inner sins. It can also wash away the opponent's fighting spirit and part of its strength. The three of us attacked air with all our strength and created a chance for Xiaohei to touch air, Garp said. Air's strength, they have just had a brief contact, they have already clearly understood. That terrifying combat power even gave them the idea of being invincible. And more importantly, they are very clear. The combat power air showed just now is not his full strength. And when air showed his true strength, there was no doubt that even if the four of them joined forces, they would be vulnerable. Therefore, competing with monsters like air for hard power is definitely not a rational choice. And if the Crane can touch air, it can wash away the opponent's fighting spirit, inner sin, and part of his strength. The odds of the four of them fighting together will be greatly improved. Understood. Zephyr and Sengoku nodded and said 0. Advertisement. Both of them agreed with Garp's plan. After all, it was the only plan they had any chance of winning. Air, who was not far away, stared coldly at the Crane in the distance and said lightly. Stay to fight. It saves me a lot of trouble, although his strength is indeed superior to that of Sengoku, Garp, and Zephyr. But these three are the highest combat power of naval headquarters after all, not simple characters. Even if you can defeat three people, it will take a certain amount of time. The time it took was enough for the Crane to take the op fruit and escape to a faraway place. And if you look for it, it will indeed be a little troublesome. However, if Crane 4.3 teamed up with Garp, Sengoku, and Zephyr to deal with him, it really saved him a lot of trouble, because, as long as these four are defeated, then op fruit will be at your fingertips, plus meanwhile, not far. Doflamingo and others also heard the movement here, so they reached this battlefield as quickly as possible. Chapter 322. Garp. Let's go together. Hey, true or false, are the four top combat powers of naval headquarters all on this island? Diamante was stunned when she saw Marine's camp. Garp, Sengoku, Zephyr, Crane are the highest combat powers of naval headquarters. It is also the facade of naval headquarters, the pillars. They had indeed figured out that Marine would send strong men to this island to recover the op fruit. But I never imagined that Marine would be so generous, sending four top combat powers directly. It seems that it is the most correct choice for us not to choose to leave, to be able to watch with our own eyes the battle of the five top powerhouses occupying the world's O3. This is enough for us to feast our eyes. Toripal, looking at several people on the battlefield, said with a smile on the corner of his mouth. Their current strength has never reached the level of the top of the world. But the five people Air, Garp, Zephyr, Sengoku, and Crane on the scene have all reached the top level. The existence of this level is very difficult to even see on weekdays. And now, they can watch the battle of these powerhouses with their own eyes. At this time, they are naturally very excited in their hearts. Advertisement. I really didn't expect that Air, this monster, was so important to Marine, and to deal with such a man, he directly sent four top powerhouses here, Pika said. If it's a man like Air, it's only reasonable that Marine would send out so many strong men. Doflamingo crossed his arms in front of his chest and hid in a safe place, commenting. You know, Doflamingo once appeared in Logue Town when Roger was executed. Therefore, at that time, he not only witnessed Roger's execution with his own eyes. It also witnessed the scene of Air and Roger, Rayleigh, Jabba 3 top powerhouses confrontation. The incomparable combat power even directly crushed the three major forces of the Roger Regiment to win. At that time, Doflamingo already knew how dangerous air was. To deal with such a man, it is indeed worth the naval headquarters to send 4 top combat powers. No matter today's battle, that side will win. This is a good thing for us, Dover. 35 Torpal said with a smile. In today's battle, if air is dead, then it is equivalent to the death of the strongest person in this sea. In this way, as a pirate, Doflamingo may still become the pirate king in the future. Advertisement. And if air hadn't died, all 4 of Marine's top powerhouses would have died. For Doflamingo, there is nothing to lose. After all, no matter what he said, he was also a pirate. Removing the Shichibukai position backwards can also reduce the 813-pin pair of Marine powerhouses. Let's wait and see, what will the outcome of this battle be like? Diamante, with his arms crossed on his chest, said excitedly. In the battlefield, Air, Garp, Sengoku, Zephyr, Crane, looked at each other. Even alone, faced the 4 top fighting forces of naval headquarters. There was no hint of fear on his face, instead, a strong fighting spirit ignited. Go together, Garp snarled with fists clenched. They are ready to give everything, do their best, and give their lives to the battle. Chapter 323 Sengoku's Great Buddha form. As Garp's voice fell, Sengoku, Zephyr, and Suru didn't hesitate. The footsteps stomped the ground violently, approaching air at their fastest speed. Garp, Sengoku, and Zephyr ran towards air's 3 directions respectively. And the crane is at the back. This is not to say that the crane cannot keep up with the footsteps of the 3. Rather, their plan was to have Garp, Sengoku, Zephyr play forward. Crane is behind, looking for opportunities to use Devil Fruit's ability to touch air. As the 3 kept approaching air, Sengoku directly used the power of Devil Fruit. Big Buddha. Sengoku let out a light ZHA, and in the next second, a dazzling golden light appeared all over his body. As the golden light slowly dissipated, a huge golden Buddha with a dazzling radiance appeared in everyone's sight. Sengoku's strength is not weak, but after using Devil Fruit's Buddha form, his strength has skyrocketed to a pervert level. In the form of the Great Buddha, he not only possesses extremely strong offensive power, but also has the world's top defensive power. Big Buddha impact. Advertisement. Sengoku roared, and then a layer of white light wrapped around his palms. The next second, he dispatched both palms together and bombarded air. I saw an extremely wide white ball of light, directly shrouding air's entire body. Boom. A deafening sound came, and air's position directly produced a big explosion. The violent explosion sounded back to the ears of everyone at the scene, and the ground level floated violently. And the scene set off a sky of smoke and dust. Sengoku stared solemnly, the position ahead. He knew that his blow would definitely be unable to defeat air. However, he wanted to know, what kind of injury will be caused to air with this near full blow from yourself? The power. Too weak, Sengoku. Suddenly, a voice came from the smoke. I saw air stood up intact. The shockwave generated by Sengoku's Great Buddha impact is indeed extremely powerful. It can be said that in today's world, few people dare to resist the shock wave of Sengoku's Great Buddha with physical body. Advertisement. But air can do it without damage. Not because of anything else, but because his flesh is extremely pervert. You know, air's sage body has reached the full level a long time ago. His defensive power is even harder than a diamond, countless times. And some time ago, after the Logue Town incident ended, because air used the special ability promotion card, he promoted the fairy eyes to the full level. Because of this, he has awakened to the full Sage of 6 Paths. This allowed him to fully inherit the power of Sage of 6 Paths. At that time, his strength had undergone earth-shaking changes again. Now, his defensive power can almost resist any attack in this world. Air. At the same time, Garp swung a pair of iron fists and appeared directly behind air. It's too slow, Garp. Air's observation hockey has been on the cusp of unfolding since the war began. Therefore, he naturally noticed Garp behind him for the first time. The moment the words fell, air waved his fist directly, colliding with Garp's fist behind him. Chapter 324 The offensive that was easily diffused by air. Boom. With the sound of a huge explosion, the ground plane under the 2 of them was greatly shattered. The ground level, constantly splitting into the Great Rift Valley, has spread to the end of the horizon. The momentum displayed from the 2 of them can be described as climbing to the top. The strength is good, Garp, but it's still too weak. Air said calmly. Garp is a strong man who specializes in physique cultivation, and he has reached the pinnacle of his physique. It can be said that in today's world, few people's physical skills can be compared with Garp. But air's physique is completely beyond Garp. Damn. Feeling the power from air's fist, Garp's forehead broke out in cold sweat. Collision with Air's fist, he only felt his 813's arm was numb. Fist, as if hitting an absolutely indestructible substance. Success. Advertisement at this moment, a voice suddenly came from behind Air. I saw the crane still appeared behind Air, and Crane's palm is still covered with devil fruit ability. It's only one punch away from the palm of your hand touching Air. Want to sneak attack? It's too naive, Air sneered. The moment the words fell, his body violently exerted force, and the terrifying power directly enveloped Garp. No matter how hard Garp tried, he couldn't stop the power from Air. Whoosh! I saw Garp's body, like a meteor, flying upside down. The body moved directly back hundreds of meters. After flying Garp, Air's figure disappeared directly and appeared not far away. Successfully avoided the crane's attack. Air also knew more or less about Crane's abilities. Although he is not very clear, if the fruit is washed, what will be the specific consequences? Advertisement, but he knew very well that he must not let the crane touch his body, otherwise it would be very troublesome. Looking at everything in front of them, Doflamingo and the others, who were watching from a distance, were directly shocked on the spot. Hey, this added strength is too terrifying. Torpal wiped the cold sweat from his forehead and said with a trembling voice. He knew that Air's strength was very strong, but he didn't expect it to be so powerful. The front is hard against the impact of Sengoku's big Buddha intact. It was even in a confrontation with Garp, directly knocking it hundreds of meters away. The crane's attack was also easily dodged by Air. Although, in this confrontation, Zephyr did not launch an offensive. But the offensive of Garp, Sengoku, and Zephyr was easily disintegrated. As expected of the pirate who has been dubbed the strongest in the world, this guy is completely an unfathomable and unimaginable monster. Pika couldn't help swallowing. It was the first time they had witnessed a battle of this level with their own eyes. Everything in front of them can be said to surprise them to the extreme. Air's strength is beyond their imagination. They never thought that a person's strength could be so terrifying. How can I have a hunch that even if the 4 top experts of Naval Headquarters join forces, they will not be able to defeat the monster Air? Diamante said with a heavy expression. Chapter 325. This guy is not a monster, but a god. With the strength of one person, fighting the highest combat power of the 4 Naval Headquarters, if he can still win, this guy Air. It is not a monster, but a god. Sengoku, Zephyr, Crane, Garp, these 4, each of them has the world's top combat power. They are standing at the top of the sea, which is the highest level of the pyramid. The 4 join forces if they can be defeated by Air. Air Hitan was just named the strongest pirate by Guan Yu, so he can be directly conferred a god. I'm afraid that this world can be captured by Air. We're going to witness history. Doflamingo took a deep breath and said solemnly. The outcome of today's battle is destined to be engraved into history. It is enough to affect the pattern of the entire world and cause unimaginable changes to this sea. In the battlefield. Damn, almost, Zephyr's pupils shrank dramatically, full of regret. It was a great opportunity just now. Crane's palm was only a punch away from Air. At this time, give the crane another second. No, even if it's only a fraction of a second. Advertisement. His ability to wash fruit can be applied to Air. This will greatly improve their odds, but unfortunately, was reacted by Air. Have you been dodged? This monster, defensive power, attack power, speed, and reaction power, are all completely above us. Can defeat such an existence? Sengoku sucked in a breath of cold air and couldn't help thinking inwardly. It can be said that Air has no flaws, but is an all-round invincible powerhouse. Facing such an opponent, Sengoku already had the idea of invincibility in his heart. However, he did not dare to say these words to Garp and others. Because he was scared and demoralized. Damn it, is this guy's reaction speed so fast? He glanced at his palm and said solemnly. At that time, as long as she was given another 1/10 of a second, then she could change the outcome of this battle. But it was such a critical moment that Air successfully evaded the attack. At this time, she was full of regrets. I can't help but blame myself, if only my speed could be a little faster. 0. For flowers. Advertisement. Everyone, don't be discouraged, the battle has just begun, we Marine are sure to win. Garp rushed over from a distance of several hundred meters and shouted at the 3 of them. If the 3 were affected by the confrontation just now, their mentality would be affected. Then they can say that they can directly declare their defeat. So, no matter what, they have to be confident. Hearing Garp's words, Sengoku, Zephyr, and Suru also regained their confidence. Yeah, after all, the battle has just begun. What they have is an opportunity to create a chance for Crane to get close to Air. Has the battle just started? Indeed, but I will let this battle end as quickly as possible, Air said indifferently as he glanced at the 4 of them. In the confrontation with the 4 people just now, he can say that he did not use any ability. Against these four, however, he did not want to continue to entangle with these four people. Now, he just wants to beat the four quickly, and then successfully get the op fruit. Long live. That's the purpose of his trip. Instead of fighting with these four, wasting a lot of time, beg. Chapter 326 Complete Sage of Six Paths Reappearance. Let a few of you see the true power. Air retracted the blade into the scabbard and put it away. He looked at the four of them indifferently. Seeing Air's actions, Sengoku's pupils shrank. Not good. Could it be that he wants to show that kind of strength? Sengoku reminiscent of Air's terrifying power in the Holy Land Marijoy War. The August 13th, terrifying and oppressive feeling that was close to Tinling back then, and the power of destroying the sky and destroying the earth, made him still have lingering fears until now. Garp and Zephyr also had cold sweats on their faces. The kind of immortal who dominates the world and stands on the top of the world, is it coming? Back then, they watched Air kill 3-5 elders in this state. The world pattern has also undergone tremendous changes. Crane looked at Air and said solemnly, "You all know that when he was in the Holy Land Marijoy, the power that Air exerted was not complete. Later in the showdown with Rox, he showed even more power." The three of Sengoku nodded cautiously. Advertisement. Although they were not at the scene at the time, the details of the battle that caused such a sensation in the world were circulated all over the world. "Don't beat yourself up." Garp clenched his fists, stared at Air and said seriously, "Aren't we getting stronger? After so many years of practice, we are not what we were before." Air looked at the four in front of him, ready for a quick fight. From the very beginning, unleash the power of ultimate. 10 Tails. Air snorted angrily. Suddenly 10 Tails, who was sleeping in his body, woke up. The awakened 10 Tails directly poured all the chakra power in his body into Air's body. This time, Air will directly use the full power of the 10 Tails to forge the full Sage of Six Paths. The enormous power of 10 Tails violently smashed into Air's body, causing his aura to soar step by step. In an instant, Air's aura soared to an extremely terrifying level, and an unparalleled sense of oppression was like a dark cloud, pressing on everyone's heart. Even some Marines shivered because of this force. Doflamingo, who was watching the game from a distance, felt a burst of tension in his heart. Advertisement. Hey, this is too exaggerated. Doflamingo put away the usual condescending expression on his face, and looked at Air's figure seriously. Is that terrible state just a warm-up? Now, is Air's true strength? In those wars many years ago, he was still young, and many things were not clear. It wasn't until I saw Air's power today that I really understood why even the 5 elders were beheaded by Air. Why Air is called the most powerful man in the world. Diamante said in horror. Is this still a person? Such a momentum. It's Conqueror's Hockey, 35. No, Doflamingo said slowly. It's just his powerful strength, and the aura he naturally shows is 4.3. Air hasn't even used Conqueror's Hockey, and that's the scariest thing. No, I can't wait for him to successfully transform and attack immediately. Sengoku saw that things were not good, and shouted. Taking advantage of Air's not yet complete state, attacking him at this time, the 4 of them may still have a chance to win. If Air's transformation succeeds, it will be a complete disaster. Chapter 327 Perfect Truth-Seeking Ball. Sengoku roared and attacked again. Countless white rays of light were wrapped around his hands, which were extremely dazzling. He discharged his hands, and a huge shockwave was directly bombarded in the direction of Air. Even with all the air around Sengoku, it condenses, like a huge cannonball, sweeping everything around. This blow almost used up all of Sengoku's explosive power at once. After Sengoku sent out the shockwave, the whole person took a heavy breath, and even the golden light became dim. At the same time, Garp and Zephyr also waved their iron fists and rushed to Air. Focus your attacks on one point. It will have a devastating effect. O3 Garp and several others knew that any one of them, a single strength could not cause harm to Air. Air's defense is really terrifying. The attack just now has already explained everything. They also changed their strategy wisely and concentrated all the attacks in one place. In this way, Air's defense may be broken. Advertisement. They rushed to Air, only to find that Air didn't even mean to dodge. He just stood there and watched the 2 of them silently. Behind him, the Truth-Seeking Ball appeared. Truth-Seeking Ball is the ultimate ninjutsu that surpasses the limits of bloodline and the elimination of bloodline. It has all the properties of yin-yang and 5 elements. Not only can it be changed at will according to Air's wishes. It can also defend against most attacks in the world. At this moment, the Truth-Seeking Ball behind Air instantly moved in front of him. Whether it was Sengoku's shockwave or Garp and Zephyr's iron fists, these powerful attacks disappeared without a trace like a mud ox into the sea. And the Truth-Seeking Ball, after absorbing the power contained in these attacks, began to expand and doubled in size. This is what Air later acquired, Otsutsuki Kaguya's ability to be a master. Master Otsutsuki Kaguya's expansive truth-seeking ball can even turn the whole world into nothingness with the help of the power of the divine tree. Is a purely offensive force. The truth-seeking ball used by Air at this time is a brand new truth-seeking ball that combines the powers of Sage of Six Paths and Otsutsuki Kaguya. In terms of defense, attack, and assistance, they all have the same powerful effects as flying. It has surpassed the ordinary truth-seeking ball and has evolved into the realm of bloodline. Advertisement. Moreover, it eliminates the shortcomings of the expanded truth-seeking ball, which can not only attack, but also assist and defend. This is my truth-seeking ball. The perfect truth-seeking ball. Air looked at the truth-seeking ball in front of him calmly and said with satisfaction. He threw the truth-seeking ball in front of him. In midair, the truth-seeking ball transforms into a jet-black shockwave. No, go away. Garp was shocked. From this truth-seeking ball, he felt the power of terror that he had never had before. Garp and Zephyr were hurriedly covered with pitch-black armament hockey for defense. Boom. The seemingly ordinary explosion of the truth-seeking ball actually caused a devastating explosion around Garp and Zephyr. A terrifying mushroom cloud rose directly from the scene. Countless smoke and dust spread across the island. From the center of the explosion, a huge shockwave swept across the land. Bang bang %. A loud explosion sounded for a long time. Chapter 328. Air, the Majesty of God. Garp. Zephyr, are you two all right? Crane shouted anxiously. She looked at the terrifying scene at the center of the explosion and was extremely worried. But with so much dust, she couldn't see how Garp and Zephyr were doing. Garp and Zephyr, these two guys, it will be okay. Sengoku also watched the explosion anxiously, waiting for the two to speak out. Garp's cough came from the smoke. I'm lucky, I can't die. Garp said aloud to the two of Sengoku. He supported Zephyr and stepped out of the smoke. Both of them were covered in wounds and their faces were blackened. On Zephyr, the black armament hockey was slowly dissipating. Sengoku keenly discovered this scene. Defend with armament hockey, but still get hurt? Sengoku asked quickly. Zephyr nodded weakly. Don't say it, if I hadn't prepared armament hockey in advance, I'd be dead now. 39. Is the explosive power of that black sphere so terrifying? Advertisement. Crane also came over and looked at the two of them worriedly. Although the two Garp were injured, they could still fight. This is the only good news. Fortunately, there are not many spheres like Air, only one less if they explode. Garp remains optimistic. No, you think too well. Sengoku said in a deep voice. He looked in Air's direction and saw the perfect truth-seeking ball that exploded just now, slowly returning to Air's side. It doesn't mean to disappear at all. How is this possible? Can his sphere be used infinitely? Garp cried out in shock. If so, then they have absolutely no chance. Zephyr said pessimistically. So naive, we are so naive. 35. Also think we Marine will win. Even a small sphere around him can't deal with it. What he said was ugly, but it was true. The current situation is that Air has the truth-seeking ball by his side, their attack can't work, and if they are close, there will be danger to their lives. Air just released the power in the truth-seeking ball just now. The use of that explosive power was too shallow, and he did not intend to continue using it. Advertisement. At this time, Air also wore the clothes of Sage of Six Paths. He was dressed in a flawless white robe, and there were several jade hooks on his neckline. Simple, yet majestic. At the same time, the Six Paths tin rod also appeared in his hand. The Six Paths tin rod is a variation of the truth-seeking ball, with the sun at one end and the moon at the other. This is one of the most powerful weapons in the world of Hokage, with the power to destroy the world. The power of the 10 tails was fully infused with air, and a crimson steam continued to circulate around his body. The whole person exudes this ghostly, terrifying coercion. Intimidating. He was just standing here, and the surrounding air was distorted unconsciously. This is the power of God. Good money. Doflamingo in the distance, looking at Air's power like a god, couldn't help but take a step back. He finally understood how powerful pure power is. Compared with Air, the celestial dragons of his former kind, those who claim to be gods are the best. Simply a joke. Let's go. Diamante on the side couldn't help but back off. This kind of terrifying coercion, I am afraid that just watching the battle will lose my life. Chapter 329. Diamante looked at Doflamingo and persuaded. It's not the scariest. 39. The most terrifying thing is that his strength is still rising. The air just now was no match for Sengoku and Garp at the same time. In the Sage of Six Paths state, he dealt with Sengoku, Garp and Zephyr at the same time, not only unscathed, but also injured the two opponents. It's getting easier. Diamante originally watched it here with the mentality of watching the excitement. No matter where they win, it won't do them any good. But at this time, he felt that he seemed to be thinking wrong. Air's powerful ability is likely to spread to them. 813 watched the battle from a distance, and it seemed dangerous. No, I will never leave, Doflamingo said solemnly. This kind of top powerhouse may only have a few chances to see it in his life. How could I miss it? At this time, he already knew that Op Fruit was no longer with him. With someone as strong as Air around, he has no chance. But Doflamingo also has a strong heart. He also has the ambition to become the strongest in the world. And now, the strongest in the world is fighting not far away. Advertisement. He couldn't miss this opportunity. On the battlefield, Sengoku, Garp, Zephyr, and Crane stand together again. The difference is that at this time Garp and Zephyr both had trauma on their bodies. Garp, Zephyr, can you two keep going? 35 Sengoku asked. What did you say? Garp laughed proudly. This little injury, what's the point? That's right, Zephyr also exclaimed. We've put life and death on the line, do we still care about this injury? Sengoku looked at his two teammates. As expected of my old teammate, he is reliable. He was infected and laughed. It's just that this smile is not happy. It's the courage to die. Sengoku looked at the three seriously. I think everyone is ready, let's do our best. Garp, this time, it's time for us to change our tactics. Zephyr looked at Garp and said suddenly, with you as the center of the battle, attack Air. Advertisement. The other three were not surprised when they heard Zephyr's words. Between the four of them, the strength can be said to be similar. But to say who is the strongest, the attack is the sharpest. It has to be Garp, known as the Iron Fist. If anyone can break Air's defense right now, it's probably just him. Sengoku deploys tactics. Me and Zephyr block Air's attack. Garp is the main attack. Look for an opportunity. Use your washing fruit to wash away the strength of Air. 35. In this case, perhaps the washing fruit of the crane will have a miraculous effect. If washing the fruit can wash away the power of the 6 paths from Air, then Sengoku's 4-player win rate will be greatly increased. Air is already getting impatient looking at Marine's most powerful 4. The state of his own Sage of 6 Paths, of course, can defeat the team of 4. However, the will on the other side is also very tenacious. Garp and Zephyr suffered serious injuries and continued to fight. It will take some time to solve them. Too slow, 35. Air said angrily, it's time to use your slaying skills. Air said, and began to gather the skills belonging to Otsutsuki Kagaya in his hands. The bones in his body began to grow rapidly. Chapter 330 Zephyr's broken arm. In Air's hand, a gray bone stretched out, extremely sharp and strong. What is that? Garp looked at Air's movements, puzzled. From his body, bone grows? Is Air using bone as a weapon? Don't think too much, attack now, Zephyr said anxiously. The body has rushed out. Zephyr, don't be impulsive. Both Sengoku and Crane try to stop Zephyr. At this time, Air's moves are very weird, they have to be careful. But Zephyr is fast enough that they want to stop it, it's too late. Air looked at Zephyr who was rushing up, and waved his hands gently. To kill the ashes. Swipe. Only 2 soft sounds were heard, and the gray bones were fired like flying swords. The Zephyr was in the air, using all his strength to evade this deadly attack. What, it looks far worse than the previous move. Zephyr said in his heart, Air, is there no more moves? At this moment, Air's hand stretched out the gray bone again. Advertisement. There seems to be a thick dead aura wrapped around it. Air shot and killed the ashes very fast, like gray lightning, stabbing Zephyr's body. Zephyr still wanted to dodge out of caution, but it was too late. Armament hockey. Zephyr quickly mobilized the armament hockey on his body, covering his arms with pitch-black defenses. Ding! With a crisp sound, a total of ashes pierced Zephyr's arm. What? Everyone present was shocked when they saw this scene. Zephyr is a top armament hockey. Can't resist that seemingly mediocre bone? Doflamingo, who was standing in the distance, said in a deep voice, if even Zephyr's armament hockey can't work, then maybe everyone can't defend against that trick. Diamante folded his arms. For some reason, Air kept his hand. He might have been able to pierce Zephyr's chest just now. Doflamingo wanted to say something, but saw Zephyr on the battlefield, and madly retreated. Zephyr's arm that was stabbed by the bone turned into a lifeless gray, and it continued to dissipate like ashes. Not even armament hockey could stop this process. Sengoku and Garp saw the wounds on Zephyr's body and their eyes were split open. Advertisement 0. For flowers. Zephyr, cut off that arm. 9. Garp yelled. If this trend continues, Zephyr's entire body will disintegrate along with the bones, until it will be wiped out. Zephyr knew it himself, red-eyed and gritted his teeth. The right arm becomes a hand knife, covered with black armament hockey. Cut off his left arm directly. When the injured left arm fell in the air, it had already turned into ashes and was scattered with the wind. With an arm chopped off, Zephyr was able to save his life. Air broke Zephyr's arm with just one move. Hoo. Zephyr was sweating profusely and panting. He stood bent over, beads of sweat dripping from his forehead. He cut off an arm abruptly, and if it was someone else, he may have been in a coma, but Zephyr is indeed a tough marine, gritted his teeth and said nothing. Zephyr. How are you? Crane asked worriedly. Zephyr gritted his teeth and shook his head. I'm fine, attack Air. Garp and Sengoku, both with sadness and anger in their eyes at this time. Chapter 331 Garp is seriously injured. Air, I want you to pay. Garp roared wildly. Because of his anger, his eyes were red at this time. Garp. Don't rush in. Sengoku was also very angry at this time. But what he knew was that even anger should not be too impulsive. If you rush up like this, you will be like Zephyr, or even worse, and you will lose your life. 35. Sengoku said to Garp seriously. August 3rd, Pooh's fist was covered with an extremely dark armament haki, and he said to Sengoku in a gruff voice. Tell me, what should we do? When there are 4 people on my side, they are helpless to Air. Now Zephyr has lost an arm, and his combat effectiveness has seriously declined. What can they do against the unscathed Air? On Marine's side, there was a deadlock. Air wouldn't give them time to think about it. He kept firing the ashes from his hands, attacking Zephyr and Crane. When Sengoku saw the situation, he let out a roar. Big Buddha impact. Immediately, white light condensed in his hand, as bright as the sun. He patted Air's direction with both hands, and suddenly sent out a powerful shockwave. Advertisement in front of this shockwave, those who were hit did not know where they went. Tisk. This move is not very reliable if it is placed at a distance. 99. Air said lightly. He originally thought that with this move, the 4 of them should be able to kill Sengoku. It seems that they are still underestimated. Killing ashes together also has weaknesses. Kill. At this time, Garp rushed up not to be outdone. Angry, he is surrounded by endless top armament haki. Garp is Marine's top fighting force, without devil fruit, just relying on physical skills and haki, he can hang all opponents. It proves that his physical talent is top-notch, and it is simply the ceiling of this world. Such him, attacking with all his strength, even Air has to take it seriously. Garp's body turned into an afterimage and charged directly towards Air. Of course Air is not wrong. The truth-seeking ball is transformed into the strongest weapon. Six Path's tin stick in his hand, catching up. 2 Zeon figures collided in an instant. Kill. Garp's strong arm muscles are knotted, blue veins and heels are violent, and they are wrapped around the top armament haki. He swung out a fist, and endless power bloomed from his body and gathered in the iron fist. No bells and whistles, no tricks. Advertisement. Just one punch. This punch, like a volcanic meteor, can sink the earth. Endless power, surging impact on Air. When Air's tin cane collided with Garp's iron fist in an instant. A crisp sound resounded under his feet. In the next second, the entire island began to vibrate violently, as if a violent earthquake had occurred. Boom. And then there's a bang. An endless shockwave, centered on the 2 of them, exploded. The powerful impact swept everything in a radius of hundreds of meters. As if a hurricane was passing through, everything in the vicinity was turned to dust under the shockwave. 4.3 Boom boom boom. The continuous and powerful impact made a loud noise as shocking as Hongzhong Dalu. After the endless storm, I saw Garp and Air, still standing in the same place, facing each other. However, at this time, Air was still unscathed. Garp, on the other hand, had tragic scars all over his body. His attacking arm was even weaker. Chapter 332 Doflamingo joins the battle. In a duel between the 2, Garp was seriously injured and an arm was broken. Completely lost the ability to fight, Doflamingo and his 2 subordinates, who were watching the battle from a distance, took a few steps back in shock. The shock in my heart could not be dissipated for a long time. One blow. Kills top player Garp. Doflamingo calmed down and said, this level of power may no longer describe Air with the word human. Diamante was silent for a moment. Garp is almost one of the most powerful people in the world. Even so, Air and his physique battle, still easy to win. I really don't know, what kind of enemy can be Air's opponent? Toriba03 also praised, attack, defense, physical skills, various abilities. It now appears that every ability of Air is already at the top level, with no flaws. Doflamingo sighed. I finally know. As long as there are people like Air, I will never be the Pirate King. He is very clear about his own strength. Doflamingo deeply understands that with his own strength, he may never reach the level of Air. Advertisement not to mention defeating him. Young master. Diamante looked at Doflamingo with sadness in her heart. He also understands that as long as Air is alive, Doflamingo has no chance. The truth is so cruel. I made a decision. But in Doflamingo's eyes, there is still the light of a careerist. We want to get op fruit. Only then can Air not dominate the world forever. Doflamingo had figured it out at this point. Not letting Air get the op fruit is not just Marine's last chance, it's his last chance. Whoever gets the op fruit in the end is much better than Air. Let's go. Doflamingo said firmly. Behind him, Diamante, Pika, Torpal and the others hurriedly grabbed him. Young master. Don't be impulsive. Diamante stopped Doflamingo stubbornly and said, if you don't come, we may lose our future. But if you get on, you'll lose even now. Advertisement. They all knew that even Marine's top 4 were no match for Air. At such a level as yourself, going up will only result in death. Doflamingo said seriously. No, must try. If I die here today, that is my destiny. But if I don't try it, I can't forgive myself for being cowardly for the rest of my life. Let me come. Diamante suddenly said, young master, since you can't change your intention, let me go first. You 813 follow me. It's finally possible. Doflamingo looked at his loyal subordinate and nodded. Diamante looked at his colleagues with sad eyes. He unleashed his flying fruit and charged directly in the direction of Air from a distance. Doflamingo launched string fruit and followed lightly. With the fastest speed in their lives, the two madly rushed towards the direction of the battlefield. At this time, Air pushed Garp, who was seriously injured and unconscious, to the ground. Heard shouts in the distance. He raised his eyes. In Air's eyes, 2 cold rays shot out. Chapter 333 forced the whole family to retreat at a glance. Air raised his eyes to look at Diamante, who was rushing towards him. What kind of unknown person dares to come and attack me? Air was furious. This is a challenge to his majesty. On his body, the powerful Conqueror's Haki instantly released. Boom! In an instant, Conqueror's Haki directly covers the entire island. The terrifying overlord aura of coercion shot straight into the sky, and the dark clouds in the sky were directly shaken away. Air looked at Diamante, who was rushing. Conqueror's Haki turned into black lightning and hit Diamante's body directly. Roll! Air gave a sharp cry. His voice was like rolling muffled thunder, echoing in the sky over the island. Diamante was hit by Air's Conqueror's Haki, rolled his eyes, foamed at the mouth, and passed out. Even Doflamingo, who also owns Conqueror's Haki, felt a huge shock, and his whole brain was shocked, and he almost fainted. He looked at the fallen Diamante, and then looked back at his men. Almost wiped out. Air made most of them lose consciousness just by looking at them. Advertisement how terrifying this is. Doflamingo stopped in his tracks, cold sweat dripping from his body. He knew that if he took a step forward, myself will die. Your own men will die. Everything they have worked so hard for so many years will be destroyed in one fell swoop. At the critical moment, he was terrified and knew that the strength of himself and others, in front of Air, was just a matter of glances. Doflamingo gritted his teeth and carried Diamante on his shoulders. Take your own men and leave here. Several people returned to the place where they had just watched the battle, watching the battle between the 4 of Air and Marine from a distance. Although they were almost wiped out, Doflamingo still wanted to see how op fruit ended. After a while, Diamante and the others woke up and turned around. Looking at the scenery around him, Diamante said to Doflamingo in surprise, young master, you changed your mind. Doflamingo nodded wordlessly. At the same time, he felt that the ambition in his heart also dissipated apart. On the frontal battlefield, of the original 4, Garp completely lost his fighting ability. Although Zephyr can continue to fight, his strength is less than half of his previous strength. Advertisement most of Sengoku's stamina has been consumed. Only the cranes are still in relatively good condition. But she is not good at head-to-head combat. The strength of the 4 has lost more than half. They couldn't beat Air just now, and now they're even more hopeless. Several people stood together, Sengoku said bitterly. I thought that as long as the 4 of us put our lives on the line, we could stop Air. I didn't expect that even if he was fighting for his life, it would only slow down his pace a little bit. 9. Zephyr also said, Crane, run away with the fruit. The 2 of us are trying our best to stop him. He covered his broken arm, his eyes, good money, God was firm. Crane shook his head. No way. 99. The 3 of you couldn't stop him just now, and now it's even more hopeless. 55. She looked at both Sengoku and Zephyr and made a decision. Sengoku, Zephyr, let's give it up. 35. When he said this, something seemed to go out in Crane's eyes. You. What do you mean? Both Sengoku and Zephyr looked at her in surprise, their eyes filled with wonder. Chapter 334 Sengoku's Tangle. Crane looked at Zephyr and Sengoku and said, I mean, you should understand. We can't keep fighting. Give op fruit to air, let's throw in the towel. 39. Hearing Crane's words, Sengoku and Zephyr's eyes were full of surprise. Impossible. Sengoku didn't say a word, Zephyr was already shouting. You made us surrender to air? I would never do such a humiliating thing. Even if I die, I won't give up, this is my dignity as a marine. Zephyr said very seriously, he has always been upright and hateful. Asking him to surrender to a pirate 813 is absolutely impossible. Even thinking about this kind of thought is an insult to his life creed. Sengoku said in disbelief, Crane, do you know what you're talking about? The four of us represent Marine's face. You made us surrender to a pirate? The most difficult thing for him to accept is that the idea was actually conceived by the Crane. Crane is not such a person, neither he nor Zephyr could figure it out. Advertisement when they let he leave just now, he Mingming was not afraid of death, and he had to face air. But now, why have you changed your mind? Crane. This kind of advice, never say it again. 35. Sengoku said firmly, I will never surrender to a pirate. 95. There was anger in the Crane's eyes. Do you think I am willing to do this? But if we don't surrender, all four will die here. What if you die here? Zephyr and Sengoku said to the Crane seriously at the same time. Are you still afraid of death? Crane shook his head. No, of course I'm not afraid of death. But the premise is that what must die has value. You think about the difference in combat power between yourself and air. 99. Even if we die, will it hurt air a little? He'll still get the op fruit he wants. Crane's words, like a bolt of lightning, directly hit the hearts of Sengoku Zephyr. That's right, before the battle, he added, really came to fight air with the determination to die. But if they die, air remains unscathed and gets the op fruit. What's the point of their deaths? It just makes Marine lose 4 top combat powers. Thinking of this, both Sengoku and Zephyr hesitated. Advertisement they knew that what Crane said was very reasonable. But in my heart, it belongs to their persistence, I don't want to let myself succumb to air. Sengoku looked down at the unconscious Garp. Good buddy, if you're still awake, that's fine. Sengoku sighed. Garp will always be the most determined of them all. If he was awake, he might have told himself what to do instead. Sengoku looked at Zephyr and Crane. Zephyr, Crane, what are we going to do? At this time, Sengoku was unprecedentedly confused. The pressure that air's powerful strength brought to them was so great that it was unprecedented. Let the beliefs and thoughts in their hearts have been deformed. Sengoku. You're the one with the idea, you make the decision. Crane said to Sengoku. Zephyr also looked at Sengoku expectantly. He looked at air in the distance. Air's momentum is amazing, I want them to come slowly. Sengoku, Zephyr, Crane. Are you ready to die? Air said coldly to the three. His aura was as powerful as a ghost. Chapter 335 Op fruit is here. Looking at air coming towards him, I felt the incomparably powerful Haki in him. Sengoku actually felt a chill on his body, he is terrified. Marine Admiral, a man who has stood at the top of the world's combat power for many years. At this time, I felt a sincere fear. He knew that if he continued to fight air, all three of them are going to die. It's not an exaggeration, it's a deep feeling. As air approached, cold sweat dripped down Sengoku's face. He looked at Garp unconscious. When Garp was still around, the four of them couldn't hurt air a single hair. Not only that, Zephyr lost an arm. Garp, on the other hand, was seriously injured. If we continue to fight air, he can't even think about it. Air got closer. The Conqueror's Haki on his body, just like the real thing, is forcing the three of them. Sengoku finally made up his mind, we surrendered. Sengoku shouted suddenly and said to air. The Crane behind him closed his eyes in pain. Advertisement Zephyr also sighed deeply. In the end, Sengoku chose to save their lives. He would rather die here if he could. Hearing Sengoku's words, air looked at him in surprise and widened his eyes. What did you say? Sengoku gritted his teeth and said in pain. We surrendered and are willing to give you op fruit. 35. As long as you don't kill us, let us take Garp. While Sengoku was talking, on the other side, Suru also took out the op fruit. Seeing that air did not move, Sengoku continued to emphasize. Please rest assured, we have no other ideas. As long as you spare our lives, it will be fine. 5. Sengoku is now begging for mercy. This is the greatest humiliation for such an arrogant master. But he had no choice. If not, it's not just him. Garp, Zephyr and Crane will all die, he couldn't just watch this happen. Air looked at them thoughtfully. He stepped forward and took the op fruit from Crane's hand. From beginning to end, the Crane did not dare to move. Fearing that Air would misunderstand that this was a trap, he took action against them. Air looked at the op fruit in his hands, and then looked at the four of Sengoku. Advertisement Sengoku and Crane are already soaked in cold sweat. 0. Ask for flowers. This feeling of waiting for judgment is really bad. Deal. Let's go. Air looked down at the 4 and turned around. The 3 of Sengoku were like amnesty, took Garp directly, and left the island at the fastest speed. Air looked at the op fruit in his hand. This devil fruit is very beautiful, with a red heart shape as a whole. Like a human heart. He said indifferently. The people who know the current affairs are Junji. Sengoku and the others are not so dead-headed. 5. Originally he wanted to kill all 4 of them, for him, it doesn't matter. But since Sengoku and the others are aware of current affairs and offer op fruit directly, there is no need to kill them all. He put away the op fruit. Suddenly, he looked up in a direction far away, and in his eyes, it was like lightning flashed across. The direction Air looked at was the temporary hiding place for Doflamingo's group. Doflamingo suddenly felt a shudder in his body. As if the beast encountered great danger, the induction was given from the body. Quick, let's get out of here, Doflamingo panicked and begged. Chapter 336 Zephyr. Resign Admiral. Doflamingo didn't understand at all that he was waiting in such a far place and hadn't made a sound yet. How did Air find himself waiting for someone? But, at the juncture of life and death, there is no time to think about such things. He was afraid that if he ran slower, Air would kill him directly. This kind of thing is nothing to Air at all. After running for a long distance, Doflamingo and his men finally stopped. August 13th. Hoo. Diamante breathed heavily and said to Doflamingo, "Boss, we read it right." 5. 4 top Marines surrendered to Air. When he said this, others also expressed their disbelief. Those were the 4 greatest Marines, 3 Admiral, 1 Vice Admiral. And the Vice Admiral Garp among them is even stronger than the General Admiral. With such a luxurious lineup, even if they wanted to crusade a 4 Emperors, it would not be a problem. Here, he actually conceded defeat to Air alone, and gave Air the extremely precious op fruit. They all felt that their worldview was severely impacted. Doflamingo said, "For the sake of my companions, I have to do it. I think if they had a choice, they would rather die there." 39. Advertisement on the warship. Sengoku and the other 4 were very embarrassed. They sat together and said nothing. The surrounding air pressure seems to have dropped. The sailors only dared to watch from a distance and did not dare to go up to talk. After a while, Garp, who was seriously injured, woke up and turned around. He opened his eyes. What he saw was the blue sky, and what he smelled was the smell of seawater. Garp suddenly felt that something was wrong and sat up on his back. He looked at the 3 teammates. All of them were gloomy. Garp had a bad feeling in his heart. What about Air? What about op fruit? Garp grabbed Sengoku's shoulder and questioned him regardless of his injuries. Sengoku said nothing. Head down. Garp's mood sank to rock bottom. "We failed, didn't we?" he said solemnly. "It's all my fault if I don't pass out." He blamed himself. Sengoku stopped him. "Garp, it's not your business." Advertisement. "It's all my fault. I decided to surrender to Air." When Garp heard that they were surrendering, a surge of anger quickly surged in his heart, and he clenched his fists. But immediately, his fists also loosened. He knew that Sengoku and the others did this to save the lives of everyone, including themselves. "I am not qualified to speak irresponsibly to them." "I see." Garp sighed heavily and sat down. "That means Air is going to become an immortal. With his strength, maybe we Marine will never have a chance." 35. This is the consensus of several of them. They had already figured it out long before the fight with Air. Otherwise, it would not be better to organize Air. Uncertain. At this time, Zephyr, who was sitting on the side without saying anything about 4.3, said to several people, "The new generation of young people may have a chance." He glanced at his severed arm. "When I go back, I'll quit my job at Admiral and focus on being a Marine instructor." Zephyr. The other 3 all screamed. With Zephyr's strength, even if he loses an arm, as long as he gets used to it, he will still be a top powerhouse in the future. It's such a pity to give up like this. Chapter 337 Ageless Surgery. Zephyr, don't be disheartened. Crane couldn't help but persuade. I am not disheartened. 35 Zephyr said firmly. It is impossible for our generation to beat Air. Kizaru and Akainu, although they are good, but the upper limit has been determined, it will not be Air. Our hope is in the younger generation. I just put hope in the future. 35. Seeing Zephyr's determined look, the other 3 were silent. It's a buddy's decision, and they can only support it. Get Air from op fruit, set off immediately, and O3 return to your own territory. Nagli was already there waiting for Air. Lord Air. He looked at Air respectfully, but what surprised him the most was the red fruit Air was holding. Op fruit. The moment he saw this fruit, Nagli knew that he had stabilized. With op fruit, get the immortal Air, destined to become the king of the world. Air looked at Nagli and smiled. Okay, bring the prepared candidates. Advertisement. What Air said is that his subordinates are loyal to him and have never eaten devil fruits. Subordinates. Let such a person eat op fruit, and then perform the legendary, ageless operation on himself. Air who has undergone this operation will truly become immortal. Even Air couldn't help but get excited at this time. Immortality and immortality, this ultimate wish, will finally be fulfilled in him. Soon, Nagli walked in with several pirates. Several pirates had fanatical admiration for Air on their faces. Have Nagli already told you the specific things? Air said lightly. Several people nodded excitedly. They were the most loyal men and had a great admiration for Air. Not only that, but they also have another characteristic. That is not afraid of death. They are all people who licked blood from a small knife, and they have long ignored life and death. Besides, Air also has Rinne Tensai technique, which can revive his subordinates. For these people, there is no loss. They looked at Air and both wanted to be picked by Air. Air looked and chose the one with the most talent and body. Advertisement, just him. Air said lightly. Seeing that he was selected, the pirate was so excited that he almost drew it on the spot. The other pirates were taken out with a look of regret. Nagli brought a huge treasure chest from the corner. When you open it, you can see all kinds of gold and silver jewelry inside. Bright enough to make anyone die for it. The pirate is the same, looking at these treasures, his eyes are straight. Air handed him the op fruit and said lightly. Okay, eat it. 813 performed an operation on me, this box is yours. It's my pleasure. The pirate took the op fruit and took a bite without hesitation. Suddenly there was a look of pain on his face, too bad to eat. However, he still endured and quickly ate the fruit. After eating devil fruit, the wonderful devil factor begins to transform his body. After a few minutes, the pirate opened his eyes. My lord, I'm ready. Op fruits, ageless operation, feature can be understood after mastering the fruit's ability. Air suppressed the excitement in his heart and said lightly, okay, let's do the surgery. Advertisement chapter 338. Worry about op fruit. The subordinates want to step forward and perform an ageless operation for Air. But Air raised his hand and stopped him. Sir? The pirate looked at Air suspiciously. Longevity is just around the corner, why doesn't Air let him continue? Air said calmly. You should practice first and become familiar with op fruit. Wait until you are familiar with it, and then do this operation for me. Even when faced with the temptation of immortality, Air restrained himself. Safety must be ensured first. If this subordinate is unfamiliar with the properties of op fruit, it would be bad to have unknown consequences. The pirate looked at Air with admiration, as expected of a man whom he admires. When faced with longevity, you can also hold your breath. He will definitely make Lord Air get what he wants. So, under the supervision and help of Nagli and others, the pirates who ate op fruit quickly became familiar with the fruit's abilities. Led by Nagli, he came to Air again. My lord, this time I have a 100% certainty that I will not disappoint you. The pirate said firmly. Advertisement. Air gave him an encouraging smile. Yes, come on. Yes. After Nagli and others pushed out, only Air and the pirate were left in the room. The pirate who ate the op fruit started to use the surgery of ageless on Air. Suddenly, a circular space formed beside Air. Air's body instantly floated up, floating in the air. His body tightened, and he instinctively wanted to fight back. Don't be nervous, adults, this is a necessary procedure before surgery, pirate said nervously to Air. Air heard his words and forced his body to relax. Otherwise, with his strength, even a physical counterattack would hurt the pirate and even kill him. This is what Air doesn't want. After Air and the surgical space were stable, the pirate began to operate. No one knows the principle of eternal surgery, but everyone knows that this is a very expensive operation. To react all the vitality of this young and strong pirate with the demon factor of op fruit. Then transform all the cells in Air together, then Air will have the ability to live forever. Advertisement. Surgery continues. The pirate who helped Air with the surgery was obviously struggling. The whole body was dripping with sweat, but he didn't care about that. He could also feel the loss of his own vitality, but still insisted on performing surgery on Air. And Air itself. Op fruit is a magical fruit. People treated with op fruit often experience no severe pain. But ageless surgery may be an exception. Air felt the pain all over his body as if he was being scorched by the flames all the time. Good money, occasionally, it feels as if it has been frozen by 1,000 years of ice. Sometimes he doesn't feel any pain, as if he is separated from the whole world. All kinds of different wonderful feelings made Air feel unprecedented pressure. This operation lasted a whole day. Nagli and the others waited nervously outside the door. To be honest, op fruit can make people immortal, and it's just a rumor. Chapter 339. Never get old. What if the rumors aren't true? Nagli and others felt that they could not bear the consequences. At the same time, I was also thinking, is it too early for Air to undergo this surgery? He is obviously still very young and doesn't need any age-old surgery. Just when Nagli and others were worried, advertisement. Inside the room. The ageless operation has been completely completed. The surgical space disappears and Air jumps out of the air. The pirate who performed the operation on him knelt down on one knee. I offer you my loyalty. After speaking, this pirate's whole body began to age rapidly. From the appearance of a young man in his 20s, he has rapidly aged to the appearance of gray hair and wrinkles on his face. Then he fell to the ground and lost his breath. Op fruit. The price of immortality for -813 people is the death of the fruit holder. Nagli. Air cried. Nagli hurriedly opened the door and came in, seeing Air standing while the pirate fell to the ground. He said in surprise, "Sir, success?" Air didn't know at this time whether it was really successful. He said to Nagli, "Get his body first. He will be resurrected in the future." 35. Advertisement. This pirate, loyal and knowledgeable in medicine, has a good affinity with op fruit. We'll use him in the future. After listening to Air's order, added, Nagli said quickly, "Yes, 99. Then ask someone to take the pirate's body and dispose of it properly." Air was standing in the room by himself. Close your eyes and close your sense of hearing and smell. Concentrate on feeling this body. As a top expert, he has all-round control over his body. At this time, he could already feel it. The cells and various organs in the body are different from before. All parts of the body, as if cheering this, are full of energy. It seems that the physical strength will never be used up, and it will never be exhausted. Air clenched his fists. Feel the same power as before. Sure enough, this ageless operation. Success. In Air's eyes, there is an extremely excited light. At this time, he also understood one thing. Many people will take the surgery of immortality as a symbol of immortality. Actually not so. People who have this kind of surgery just never get old and stay young. If you have been fatally injured or have an incurable disease, advertisements still die, but for Air at this time, this state is no different from being completely immortal. In this world, there is almost no existence that can harm oneself. Air felt incredibly confident. He took a few steps on the ground. Pick up a basket in the corner. There are various kinds of fruits in the basket. Devil fruit will reappear after the host dies. There is a saying that devil fruit will appear on the nearest similar fruit. So Air had Nagli and the others prepare every kind of fruit they could find. In this huge basket, he looked at the fruit in the basket. The top layer, no Air patiently took out the fruits in the basket one by one and selected them. Finally, at the bottom end of the basket, saw a familiar devil fruit. Bright red, in the shape of a heart, op fruit. Air couldn't help but be ecstatic. This means that, as long as there is no accident, he can master this op fruit almost forever. Chapter 340. The conjecture of the Ageless Legion. In an instant, Air thought of countless possibilities. You can even use this op fruit to create a huge and invincible immortal army. It is also possible to use the surgery of immortality as a reward, so that your loyal subordinates can also obtain the ability of immortality. You can even use this power to make your enemies take refuge in you. Air was excited. He thought about it for a moment, and carefully packed the op fruit. Put it in a very safe place. So far, no hurry. Just take it out when you need it again. This is one of Air's biggest secrets. Nagli pushed the door again at this time and came in. My lord, it has been dealt with. Very good. Air turned his back to Nagli, his figure as composed as a mountain. My lord. Nagli hesitated for a moment, but still asked, is the operation successful? Air turned around. Of course. He said lightly, from now on, I will not be old. Nagli was ecstatic. Immediately knelt on the ground and praised, Lord Air, long live. This is not flattery, but the real truth. Air looked at Nagli lightly. Do you also want to live forever? Nagli was stunned. Advertisement then, an uncontrollable ecstasy surged up in my heart. Sir, can I do that too? He asked tremblingly. Newly, work hard. As long as you are loyal to me, so can you. After Air finished speaking, he stepped over Nagli and walked out the door. Leaving Nagli alone, ecstatic in the room. Immortal life, immortality, he said excitedly. After this day, the grapevine came out of nowhere. It is said that Air has become an immortal legend. Most people who heard the news scoffed at it. They do not believe that such people exist in this world. There are also the few who know the inside story. Knowing all this, it should be true, at the same time. Holy Land Marijoy, in the highest meeting room. The atmosphere here today is extremely chilling. Even the weather was gloomy, as if there was a big storm coming. Everyone in the vicinity was careful, because everyone knows that something big is going to happen. Advertisement in the conference room, the upper floors of Naval Headquarters are all present. 0. Ask for flowers in the most central position, Marshal Marine, Kong. The person next to him is the director of the Naval Headquarters Criminal Investigation Bureau, a dark horse. At the outermost end of the conference table, the 4 people who scrambled for op fruit with air that day were sitting. Sengoku, Garp, Zephyr, Crane, 3 Admiral, 1 Marine hero. These people are the 4 people with the highest status in the current Marine except for Kong. But at this time, it seems like he is being tried, sitting here. The seniors looked at the 4 with scrutiny. Okay, after our investigation, it has been confirmed that op fruit was taken by air, 5. The dark horse put away the file in his hand and said to everyone. In the room, there was a sound of shock and helplessness. Everyone can't believe it. The highest combat power of the 4 Marines did not stop air. Not only that, but they also suffered a lot of injuries. Garp was still covered in bandages at this point. And Zephyr is even worse. Lost an arm forever, the sleeve of the right arm is empty. This is an unacceptable thing. What we want to know is, did the 4 of them show any dereliction of duty during the battle? Chapter 341 Interrogation of Sengoku. The dark horse had a serious look on his face and said something about investigating malfeasance. Everyone's face is ugly. How did things get to this point? Forcing them to investigate their colleagues, it's like interrogating a criminal. Kong's face is even more ugly. These people are all his confidants and favorite generals, and they are also Marines' facade and representative of combat power. This kind of thing made it difficult for him to accept. Let's talk, we made a mistake of August 13th, Sengoku said in a deep voice. The dark horse explained. It's not that you must have been derelict, it's a specific incident investigation. He said, I know you must have tried your best, from Zephyr's arm and Garp's injuries. 35. But at the same time, we also have credible sources. Say you didn't fight to the end, but gave up at a pinch and handed over op fruit. What? Everyone in the conference room looked at the dark horse in shock when they heard the news. Dark horse, what nonsense are you talking about? 1. Kong slapped the table and stood up. They are so badly injured, you still say such things. 35. The rest of the people also looked at the dark horse with bad expressions, with anger in their eyes. Especially Akainu, Kazaru, and Shingchi et al. They were both students of Zephyr and old friends of the others. Advertisement. No one can stand his friend being slandered like this. Dark horse, hand over any evidence you have, don't spray people with blood here. Akainu looked at the dark horse seriously with anger on his face. Yes. What evidence? Others also chimed in. Forget it everyone, what he said is true. At this time, Sengoku took the initiative to stand up and tell everyone. Sengoku. Everyone looked at Sengoku in disbelief. Their character is known to everyone. It is impossible to give op fruit to air in order to survive. Why in the end? Akainu and others wanted to say something. But Kong shouted loudly. Shut up. After Kong finished speaking, he looked at Sengoku and the others seriously. Sengoku, what's going on? Please explain to me one by one. He believed that Sengoku was not such a person, but it has to be explained. Sengoku took a deep breath and recounted everything that happened that day. Advertisement. Listening to Air in his description, everyone in the conference room fell into deep thinking. Air, how can he be so strong? Kong said in disbelief. Even stronger than in the Marijoy incident at the time. Listening to Sengoku's description, it's not even a little bit stronger. But much stronger. What happened? Air, there is no limit to the growth of strength. Not only Kong, but everyone else frowned. Air's power really shocked them. What about the next thing? The dark horse asked. His duty is not to understand the former things, but to investigate the latter things. The next thing is a decision made by me and has nothing to do with other people. Sengoku broke 4.3 and said. Crane and the others raised their heads in surprise when they heard Sengoku's words, and looked at Sengoku in disbelief. Crane wanted to say something, but was pulled by Zephyr's sleeve next to him. Zephyr shook his head at her. Crane instantly understood. Sengoku wanted to take all the responsibilities for them. If you clarify the facts now, then Sengoku's sacrifice will be in vain. Chapter 342 Zephyr resigns as Admiral Crane could only close his mouth and silently watch Sengoku speak. After the others heard Sengoku's answer, they all looked at Sengoku in shock. Impossible. Sengoku, why do you do this? You mean the whole idea was yours, didn't you? Dark Horse asked Sengoku. He frowned. Even if Sengoku made such a decision, what about everyone else? Did they all agree with Sengoku? There are so many strange things going on. Sengoku looked calm. 03 is right. At the time, Garp was seriously injured and in a coma, you should know that. Everyone else, including the Dark Horse, nodded. Zephyr was also almost unable to think because of his amputated arm. 35. It's just me and the crane. The crane doesn't agree with my approach, but I insist on doing it. After speaking, Sengoku faced everyone in the room. My actions have been finished. If you have any questions, please ask. The dark horse looked at Sengoku. There is no flaw in what Sengoku said. Whether it was true or not, his further cross-examination was of no use. Advertisement, Marshal Kong, let's see what to do. The dark horse is only in charge of the investigation. The specific verdict is up to Kong to decide. Leak. Everyone looked at Kong expectantly. At this point, Zephyr stood up. Marshal, I have decided to resign from the position of Admiral. As soon as he finished speaking, everyone in the room looked at Zephyr in shock. Zephyr Admiral, don't be impulsive. 39, yes, you are still young. This is not your fault. Kong also said, Zephyr, don't blame yourself, this matter is not your problem. Not to mention Zephyr also broke an arm. In any case, it's not Zephyr's turn to take the blame. Zephyr shook his head and said to everyone, everyone knows that I am no longer qualified to exist as an admiral with a broken arm. Admiral is the Marine's highest combat power, not a place for waste. 35. After the battle with Air, one thing I know is that our generation has no hope of defeating Air. If Marine wants to continue to rise in the future, it must have more talents. I want to devote the rest of my life to Marine training, to open up a new path for Marine's future. Hearing Zephyr's words, Kazaru, Akainu and other students whom Zephyr had met were very moved. Advertisement Kong nodded and said, Zephyr, since you say so, then I will listen to you. Temporarily stepped down from Admiral's position, but the benefits remain the same. All right. Kong stood up and said to everyone, this is the end of the matter, please come back. 5. Of course, the dark horse still wants to investigate something. But Kong's meaning is already very obvious, that is, do not continue to pursue any responsibility. And Sengoku and their positions will also be reserved. The black horse walked out with a gloomy expression. Sengoku, you stay here, I have something to tell you. Kong keeps Sengoku. After everyone has gone out, Kong looked at Sengoku, said something that surprised Sengoku. Sengoku, I have decided to nominate you as the new generation of Marine Marshal. What? Sengoku suddenly raised his head and looked at Kong in shock. He originally thought that if he screwed up, he would be reprimanded or even suspended. Chapter 343 The New World Pattern. Sengoku looked at Kong in shock. But Kong said to him, there is news, I am going to be promoted, and I am going to be the General Marshal. At that time, my Marine Marshal position will be vacated. After much deliberation, this position is still the most suitable for you. Sengoku said suspiciously. But, this time, Kong said lightly, no matter what happened at the time, your choice saved the top 4 Marines. Otherwise, the current Marine will be unusable and will decline even more. Kong said seriously. Remember, no matter how powerful Air is, there will always be new challengers in the future. And Marine, you can never be impulsive and desperate, you understand? Seeing Kong's serious eyes, Sengoku nodded. I will try. 35. Very good. Kong nodded in satisfaction and turned to leave. On the sea, some rumors gradually spread. Legend has it that the great pirate Air has the ability to immortalize. And in his hands, he even has more similar abilities. As long as you join Air's pirate group and be loyal to Air, you will have the opportunity to gain the ability of immortality just like Air. Advertisement. Although it is just a rumor that is not known to be true or false, it has also attracted a large number of people. Drosta country. Air is opening the newspaper. Something very important has happened recently. For example, red hair pirates entered the New World. Become one of the other powerful forces in the New World. And Jinbei, also some time ago, agreed to join Marine and become King Shakiwu High. The pattern of the world is changing. For example, there are newspapers that combine several extremely powerful pirate groups and collectively call them Sea Emperor. There are many pirates known as the Emperor of the Sea. The first is Edward Whitebeard, the great pirate of the same era as Roger. And the new redhead Shanks, Big Mom, Charlotte Linlin. Beasts, Kaido. Flying pirates, Golden Lion Shiki. Finally, it is recognized as the most low-key and most powerful pirate, Air. Advertisement. In fact, for the world government, Air is not low-key at all. Hit the Holy Land Marijoy, attack Marine headquarters, take the Op fruit. How can these things have anything to do with low-key? However, it's different for news. Since the beginning of the new era, countless pirates have rushed to the sea. Every 3 to 5, there will be dazzling newcomers. And Kaido, Charlotte Linlin, Whitebeard, etc., often rampage in the Sea of New World, showing their power. In contrast, Air, who does not come out often, appears to be much more low-key. However, neither Marine nor the veteran pirates will forget this figure standing on the top of the mountain. In the newspapers, in order to facilitate the division of the various forces in the world, money is good. The current power is divided into several parts. Marine 3 Admiral, Shichibukai, Sea Emperor. Among them, the power of the pirates obviously far exceeds that of Marine. There is simply no balance. For example, there are actually 6 Sea Emperors on the sea. With so many powerhouses, how should Marine, who has only 3 top-level combat powers, deal with it? As for the title of Emperor of the Sea, some people do not recognize it. Chapter 344 Marine Expansion. Ever since I heard that the world government and the newspapers jointly selected the title of Emperor of the Sea, a large number of pirates were excited because of this. Everyone is motivated. Becoming One Piece is just a matter of later. Can you be the first Emperor of Shanghai? As a result, many newcomers who did not know whether to live or die challenged Whitebeard and others. Pity. Their results, only a few, became a subordinate of the 4 emperors and escaped in despair. Or die at sea. Holy Land, Marijoy, the highest meeting room. Kong, still sitting in the center, and next to him, has been replaced. In 813, the next marshal, Sengoku. The fact that Sengoku is about to become the new marshal has spread like wildfire within Marine. Although I don't know who released the news, but Sengoku guessed that this kind of thing could only be done by one person. That was Kong himself. Advertisement in order to make Sengoku adapt to the work rhythm of the marshal in advance. Now Kong has left a lot of things to Sengoku to do. Others have also undergone a lot of changes. First, Zephyr is gone. And Akainu and Kizaru, who by this time had become Marine Admiral, wore clothes that belonged to Marine Admiral. Everyone be quiet. Kong said to the crowd. Compared to what you have all seen, the newspaper reports on Maritime PowerPoint 99. I don't know what you think, the new Admiral Akainu said first. I don't think there's anything to care about. It's just a side note in the newspaper. The newspaper listed Marine as the weakest force at this time, and Akainu was very upset. He also did not trust their judgment in his heart. Kong didn't say anything, but looked at the others. Kizaru was seen and said calmly, oops, it's actually. I said this, I wonder if everyone can understand? Kizaru has always been this kind of character, and others don't force it. Forget it, let me talk about it. Sengoku said solemnly. I think, added, that the above analysis is basically no problem. Everyone else looked at him in shock. I'm from Marine, is it really okay to say that? Advertisement Sengoku said to the crowd, I think Marine's power is too weak. Therefore, I suggest to let Marine expand the high-end power, a little more Admiral out, 35. 3 Admiral is a tradition, Sengoku's proposal is indeed a bit deviant. Sengoku glanced at the table. Do you have any comments? No opinion, I agree. Akainu raised his hand first. He's a hawk, and the only thing he wants is for Marine to become stronger. Naturally, both hands agree with this suggestion. Others have no opinion. At this time, Kong said to everyone, since there is no opinion, let me talk about the trend of reform. 35. We will change Marine's Admiral system from 3 Admiral to 5 Admiral. What? So much? Everyone was shocked. From 3 people to 5 people, the number of people almost doubled. Where can I find the right person for such a quantity? Currently, Marine has only 3 Admirals, Kong told the crowd. It's Sengoku, Akainu, and Kizaru. To be the size of 5 people, of course, is not enough at the moment. At this time, Marine also had an admiral backup, Xingji. Chapter 345 World Conscription, and even Xingji became an admiral. There are still only 4. In order to make up for the number of admiral, we have decided to start the world conscription. Kong said to the crowd. Except for Sengoku, who already knew about it, everyone else was surprised. They were all taken aback. Master Marshal, isn't this too radical? Xingji asked. In his opinion, this kind of recruiting method is really too rude, a little. Although the people who can come in, the strength is not bad. But what kind of character is still unknown? There is an essential gap with the talents trained by Marine from the very beginning. Kong nodded. I know your worries. I actually thought about it too. This time around the world conscription, before participating in Marine selection, we have to show our position by fighting against pirates. Kong finished. No one objected. Although, the way the world recruits soldiers is still a bit unreasonable. But at this time Marine, very lack of top combat power. Doing so is a desperate choice. Advertisement The news of the world conscription soon swept the whole world. The whole world set off a wave. If you want to be the pirate king, you will go out to sea and become a pirate. Those who want to become Marine Admiral will hone their skills and then participate in the world conscription. All of a sudden, the sea was surging, and it was very lively. And the traditional powerhouses on the sea are even busier at this time. Not only to deal with arrogant newbie pirates, there are also folk masters who want to catch them. For a while, let these old pirates be very annoying. But in comparison, Air's life is relatively quiet. His low keenness recently made pirate newcomers and those who want to be admiral not thinking of him. If you don't become the first target, you will save most of the troubles. There are also other young people who don't know how to live or die. When they want to hit Air, it will be easily handled by Air's men. After all, Air is a legendary pirate. Any one of his subordinates is not comparable to the newcomers. However, there will be exceptions. While Air was fishing at the beach, advertisement Nagley came over. Sir, there is something I want to tell you. 0. Ask for flowers. Nagley's face was hesitant and flustered. As if doing something wrong. What's the matter, tell me. Air glanced at Nagley and continued fishing. There are not many things that can make Nagley so cautious. Looks like something interesting happened. Nagley summoned his courage and said to Air, there is a powerful guy here to challenge you. Air listened and said lightly, oh, so that's all it is? Then why are you so nervous? Nagley said quickly. Several pirates in our group tried to stop him and were injured. I'm not good at anything, Air said calmly. The members who are resident here, there is no one who is too powerful. 35. Worth tens of millions is their peak. This level, if you really meet a master, it must not be enough to watch. Air himself has sent out his most powerful subordinates to work. The remaining strength will not be too strong. He stood up and said lightly, take me to see it. What kind of guy is this arrogant newcomer? Chapter 346. Under the careful guidance of Nagley, Air came to those who dared to challenge him. The man was tall and had black curly hair. The tattoos on his body are the big characters of Death Chuan's heart. Wearing sunglasses and smoking a cigarette, Laozi's arrogance is the best in the world. Seeing Air coming, the man turned his head and said to Air, are you Air, that famous pirate? The guy who is called the Emperor of the Sea, should be, August 13th, very powerful. Today I am here to challenge you. Air didn't answer his question directly. Instead, look at the person's side. Around his body, many green plants grew. Several of Air's subordinates were penetrated by strong vines, and they were constantly providing nutrients to this man. Air looked at his subordinates with a cold tone. What's your name? My name is Aramaki, and I will be the man who will become Marine Admiral in the future, remember. Aramaki said to Air very arrogantly. Air said coldly, no, you have no chance. 35. Today, you will die by my hands. As Air spoke, a powerful conqueror's haki spread from him. The black conqueror's lightning strikes directly at the wild animal husbandry. The whole sky has changed from the bright sunshine just now to the cloudy cloud now. Conqueror's haki facing Air's terrifying conqueror's haki. Advertisement Araki's frightened legs trembled. Cold sweat dripped down his face. Just. What a joke. Although Aramaki was so frightened, he still kept his posture facing Air. I'm not going to turn around and run because I'm afraid of you, absolutely not. I'm going to be Marine Admiral and get ahead. Air didn't speak. Pulling out the supremely fast sword from his waist, Zhan Shen gently swung a knife. This knife was made by him at will, but it's so fast that it's too fast to see. Aramaki only saw a flash of white light like lightning on Air's waist. The sharp knife light flashed. The vines under his feet broke in an instant. Thump, 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 Air's men fell from the broken vine. Air made a simple observation with a sense of sight. There is not much of a problem with these people's bodies. Advertisement, it's just that some nutrients are lost, and it won't come without a complete rescue. At this time, Huang Mu was already beating drums in his heart. What a quick knife. Can I handle such a knife? 99. He was uneasy. He also has a short sword around his waist, and he also has a certain understanding of swordsmanship. But with his own understanding, he couldn't understand how Air made the knife just now. I can't even see Air's movements. How to fight? Aramaki retreated in his heart. At this time, Air looked at Amur and said to him, use your power to heal my subordinates. 9. I can keep you alive. Hearing Air's words, Araki's heart tightened. Air's murderous aura just now was real. Fortunately, he didn't kill Air's men without authorization just now. 4.3. Otherwise, you will be miserable. Aramaki quickly used his fruit ability to regrow strong vines on the ground. But this time it was the other way around. He absorbed all the life energy around him into Air's body. Air's subordinates have gradually become normal from their skinny appearances. Soon they were all back to normal. Chapter 347 Break in 2. Air's subordinates rolled over and knelt down to Air in shame. Lord Air, we have betrayed your trust. Air waved indifferently and told them to leave. After all, the few people who stayed behind were doing ordinary chores, not guarding the door for him. It's normal to be unable to beat a guy like Huang Mu. Air looked at Araki and said lightly, "You want to challenge me? Then come on, I'll give you a chance. If you catch me without dying, you can live." 99. Araki looked at Air and thought to himself, didn't he say 03 just now, can he survive by saving his subordinates? But facing Air's conqueror's haki, he didn't dare to ask anything. "Why do you want to be Marine Admiral?" Air asked suddenly with interest. Aramaki looked at Air and said his true thoughts, "I want my status to rise. This is my way of life." When Aramaki talked about his own thoughts, he became very fanatical. The existence of human beings has always been based on the rules that the superior oppresses the inferior. Without discrimination, there is no security, and in this world, the highest level is recognized by Tianlong, 35. As long as I can become a Marine Admiral, I will be close to the most noble race in the world, the Celestial Dragons. Advertisement. He looked at Air very frantically. "Can you understand what I'm thinking?" What Air Mew didn't expect was that Air laughed when he heard what he said. Naive, so naive. 95. Air looked at Huang Mew and said with a smile, "Your theory is too stupid and too funny." After he finished laughing, he said lightly, "I think, people like you should be Marine Admiral. After this, you will know how wrong you are." When Air saw that his theory was despised by Air, he was very upset. But he didn't dare to say anything ugly, just exploding all the abilities of the forest fruit on his body. "I will let you know that my idea is correct." Forbidden Forest. The fruit ability of Aramaki burst out. In an instant, a large number of plant seedlings grew out on the empty ground. Then in an instant, the seedling of the plant will grow into a towering tree. Countless flowers, plants, trees and vines surround the barren. Immediately, the side of the wild animal husbandry turned into a forest. He himself, also from the image of a human, slowly grew bigger. Grow into a towering tree with limbs and facial features. Come on, 35. Advertisement. The wild animal husbandry controlled countless plants and launched an attack on Air. Air looks at these things. Shook his head. "It's not strong enough," he said. In his right hand, he casually held the supreme sword, slaying the gods. Black armament haki and 813 conquerors haki, wrapped around the Zan Shen Dao. Make Zanshin extremely dark, like a beast that chooses and devours people. Air's eyes opened slightly. Look at the wild animal husbandry. Cut out. This knife is very fast. I can't see the drawing of the sword, nor the movement of closing the sword. Only a sharp knife light could be seen, like a white line, passing through the air. Everything around is still. Then, it was as if there was a storm at earth coiling. Boom. Under a knife. All the plants around the wild animal husbandry, cut in half. Including Huang Mew himself, it was completely broken into two pieces. Chapter 348. Another challenger. Everything around the wild animal husbandry has turned into powder. On the ground, only a small seedling was left. From the ground, the body of Aramaki grows. As soon as he came out, his face was full of panic. Araki hurriedly said to Air, "I know I was wrong. I shouldn't have challenged you. Not your opponent, I'll leave now." He turned around immediately, as if running for his life. "Wait a moment," Air said lightly. Aramaki's figure instantly stiffened. Countless thoughts arose in his mind. What does Air want to use? Are you dissatisfied with him, or are you going to kill him? At this moment, the Marquis had already started playing in his mind. To his surprise, Air only said a few words. "Let the next challenger challenge complete and you can go." The next challenger? Araki's face was full of doubts. Not sure what Air is talking about. At this moment, the sound of applause came from the woods in the distance. Advertisement. Clap clap. With applause, a blind man with a knife came out. He was dressed in purple and had two striking scars on his face. He wears clogs under his feet and has a blind staff in his hand. He came out of the woods. There were many roadblocks ahead, but the blind man was still on the ground. As if these things were right in front of his eyes. Nice sightseeing, Aramaki commented in his heart. As the blind man walked, he said to Air, as expected of the most powerful pirate in the legend. "At such a long distance, I also deliberately controlled my breathing and movements, which were all discovered by you. It's amazing." Air looked at him. "You are also challenging me because of the recruitment of world government?" The blind man became serious. "Exactly. By the way, I haven't introduced myself yet, which seems a bit presumptuous." The old man's name is Life. Air nodded knowingly, and it was Fujitora, the future admiral. Is it just because he is too powerful that the world government's conscription is advanced? Air looked at Yisheng and Aramaki, suddenly asked with interest. Advertisement. Why did you two come to me to prove your strength? Do you think I'm the weakest one? As he spoke, he thought to himself that he hadn't gone out for a long time to brush his presence, and it seemed that these people had forgotten about themselves. Shaking his head again and again for a lifetime. No, how is that possible? I came to find you precisely because you are the strongest among all pirates. When he finished, Air didn't speak. Oramu screamed directly. Ah, what? He's the strongest, stunned for a lifetime. Then he turned his head in the direction of the wild Mew, and said in surprise. Why, don't you know? 35. Huang Mew nodded and said, I don't know, I just came to see his sight and came closest to me. Lifetime said with a wry smile. That's right, you can see the battle of the strongest. Aramaki glanced at Air, and then asked, money is good, for Lifetime. How do you know that he is the strongest pirate? Life was stunned again. Is that even a question? Your Excellency Air is a strong man who can defeat even Rox and Roger, and a man who can win against Marine's 4 top strong men at the same time. Such a person is not the strongest in the world, who would return it? 99. After listening to the words of his life, Araki was completely dumbfounded. Why? These things, I have never heard of it. Chapter 349 The Power of Air. After listening to the words of Huang Mew in his lifetime, he couldn't help but ask, don't you read the newspaper and understand the news? Araki said, I'm too lazy to watch. 35 Life and Air are speechless. Especially Air. He also thought that the wild animal husband dared to covet the throne of Marine Admiral. What a powerful person. It was a straw bag. Stop gossiping. 99 Air said to his life. You dare to challenge me, you are really not afraid of death. 99. A lifelong expression of compassion. It is the honor of my life to be able to fight against a top player like you. Even if you die, you will get what you want. He said that, but it made Air appreciate this person more. In contrast, his life is 813 times stronger than that of Huang Mew. Huang Mew looked at his life and was surprised in his heart. He is actually not afraid of dying for a challenge. Thinking so, he suddenly felt very lucky. Without knowing it, he challenged the strongest man in the world, and he has not died. His wild animal husbandry is really blessed. Very good, if you can pick me up without dying, that's fine. Air said lightly to his life. I didn't think it was an insult to him for a lifetime. Advertisement on the contrary, for him, this is a test, a trial. Can you catch the strongest man in the world without dying? Added. A smile in his life. Let me try it. Handheld knives for life. On the arm and blade, a rich armament hockey is formed. At the same time, the ability of the gravity fruit also accumulated on the blade. The terrifying gravity and hockey together form a powerful aura like a tiger. Please enlighten me. Drink all your life. The blade in his hand swung out instantly. Suddenly, the infinite gravity and hockey formed a black tiger, rushing towards Air. The powerful gravity cooperates with hockey to destroy everything around him. The grass and trees on the ground, even the stones, were directly crushed into powder by the terrifying power of this move. Even the soil on the ground was pressed down a bit. Aramaki, who was watching the battle, looked terrified. You are not your opponent. Although he is very arrogant, he still has a certain understanding of his own abilities. What a terrible ability of gravity, what a terrible swordsmanship. Aramaki said in surprise. He looked in Air's direction, wondering how Air would deal with this move. At this time, Air held the supreme sword and Zanshin with one hand. Advertisement. It is still a knife with an invisible trajectory. The white blade light flashed in the eyes of Araki. Boom. This knife directly detonated the attack of a lifetime. As if the invincible tiger, under this knife, directly disintegrates. And Air's knife light is still advancing like lightning. I was shocked all my life, and only had time to cover the black armament hockey on the blade. He was hit by the sword energy and flew out, still a knife. Will be defeated for life. The most shocking thing is the wild animal husbandry at this time. He found out that Air wielded a knife when he fought his life. It's exactly the same as when you played against him. Explain one thing. That is, he did not show real strength at all. It was just a random move, and the two of them were sent away. When Aramaki knew about this, there was an infinite sense of admiration in my heart. This is the real powerhouse, completely different from a half a asterisk like me. Aramaki felt that Air was so powerful at this time. Chapter 350 Pick Me Up and Be Marine Admiral. Oramu even felt ashamed rarely. I feel that my previous beliefs, those self-righteous thoughts, are so ridiculous. A person like Air deserves to be called a real strong man. He couldn't stop thinking about Chunin. At this time, his whole life, he also got up from the ground. He limped back. He said respectfully to Air, "Thank you for your mercy. Although it was just a casual blow from you, it still took back the strength and allowed me to survive. Mr. Air, you really deserve to be the strongest man in the world." After listening to his life, Air just smiled slightly. You are a good person, it's a pity to die like this. After practicing for a few more years, you can challenge me again. 35. If he said something like this, if someone else said it, it would be too arrogant. It will make people very uncomfortable, but Air speaks for himself. For a lifetime in the wild animal husbandry, I only felt a touch of emotion. What a great personality. Don't think that life is too weak, and give him a second chance. To be honest, Air's fight against them was actually a gift to them. At the same time, Huang Mu also noticed one thing. Advertisement Air didn't use his full strength just now, even though it was a handy knife. He thought of himself, and it should have been the same situation just now. The glasses under Aramaki's sunglasses were wet. What an amazing man. He decided to change his life creed. Take Air as your idol, and keep working hard to become a man like Air in the future. Aramaki cheered himself on. Air looked at Aramaki and Yisheng. Okay, you're all wannabe Marine Admiral people, Araki said to Air respectfully. Yes, although there is no chance now. Losing to Air, he and his life were both very ashamed. Air smiled lightly. It's not impossible. You go to Marine and tell them that you took me and didn't die. 99. I think they'll give you a chance. Hearing this for a lifetime, the hand holding the knife trembled slightly. In the same way, the eyes of Araki also widened in shock. What a confidence this is. Can you become Marine Admiral by taking Air's undead kill? While Araki was shocked in his heart, he did not forget to be polite. Advertisement 0. Ask for flowers. He immediately leaned down and said to Air, yes, I see. Now he is completely different from the arrogant and wild feeling before. It's like a person has changed, and life also politely bowed to Air. Then turn around and leave. Air looked at the back of the two lightly. I thought to myself, both of them are people who pursue their own life and strength. Although Air just said that, they wouldn't just go to Marine just like that. We'll definitely look for another master to challenge. If there is no such strong heart, they will not come to this step. Air turned around and went back to fishing, in the marshal's office shortly after. Kong got a message. 2 new guys went to challenge Air, but didn't they die? He murmured. The current rookie's strength is very exaggerated. Sengoku, who was on the side, added. It is said that Air at the time said that anyone who can pick him up without dying is qualified to be a Marine Admiral. Of course it was a shame for Marine. Chapter 351 Whitebeard Visits. However, when Kong faced this kind of remark, he couldn't say a single disagreement. Because he knew that what Air said was the truth. And Sengoku, even more clearly, there were 4 of them, facing an Air. Already felt unparalleled pressure, and in that battle, Air only used a few tricks. There's nothing wrong with that sentence. Kong thought for a while and said to Sengoku, August 3rd, these 2 newcomers should have a bright future. If they don't get emboldened by Air, then recruit them into the Marines. Sengoku answered firmly. Yes. A few days later. New World, the country of Darasta. A huge ship slowly entered the port. Air's pirates watched the approaching ships vigilantly. But when they saw the pirate flag on the ship, they all put down their guard. It was a black pirate flag. The top bone, with a chic Whitebeard. It's Air's old friend, the Whitebeard Pirates. Whitebeard's huge body jumped off the Mozambique. Advertisement jumped onto the wooden pier and made a loud noise. Goo ha ha ha. Whitebeard smiled happily and walked towards Air, who was greeted. Long time no see. Air. Whitebeard patted Air's back hard. Why do you look so much younger recently? As expected of an old shooter, his eyes are very vicious. The difference in Air was immediately apparent at a glance. It's a long story, let's go in and talk. Air took Whitebeard into the tavern. Whitebeard sat down on his huge chair and picked up a huge wine glass 10 times larger than normal. He took a hard swig of beer. Jiu dong dong, ha. He drank the beer in the glass in one sip. It's cool, I haven't been this cool for a long time. Whitebeard slammed the glass on the table. One more glass, 55. And Air didn't drink, just looked at him quietly. What's the matter, Air? Whitebeard said proudly. You boy, why are you so unhappy? Air smiled slightly. Edward, you want to hide from me, that's impossible. Advertisement, your illness is already very serious. After he finished speaking, Whitebeard's eyes widened, staring at him in shock. You know that? How did you know? It must be some restless kid, talking nonsense, HMPH, don't care about them. He said aloud. An inappropriate look. Air shook his head. Whitebeard, don't lie to me. Your aging can already be clearly felt through seeing and seeing. Do you still question my strength? After he finished speaking, he looked at the old friend quietly. Although the eye of the needle on Whitebeard was concealed, Air could clearly see it. It is a trace that will only appear after a long-term drip. Plus heavy breathing. He knew that by 4.3 feet Beard's life was only half left. Whitebeard gave Air a wry smile. Put the beer mugs on the table. Huh. I still can't hide it from you, 55. That's right, I'm getting old. It's really something that can't be avoided. This legendary pirate who traversed the sea rarely showed a lonely mood at this time. Looking at Whitebeard's appearance, Air couldn't help but feel very emotional. Chapter 352 Ace and Blackbeard. As the saying goes, flowers have a reopening day, and people are no longer young. Aging is a threshold that even the strong cannot escape. Fortunately, Air used op fruit to perform surgery on himself. With his strength, he would never need to consider such a thing. Maybe that's why he's luckier than Whitebeard. Whitebeard quickly put his own business behind him. Stop talking about me. Talk about yours. He looked at Air and asked strangely, why do you look younger? That's weird. You be *****************. D. There is no need for Air 03 to hide. Op fruit. He said lightly. Whitebeard's eyes gradually widened. It's hard to say, is that rumor true? He looked at Air in disbelief. That's right, I've done ageless surgery for myself. Air said lightly, from now on, I will never die. When he saw Whitebeard's eyes, there was an instant flash of surprise. But soon, Whitebeard said, that's still good, Air. Air said to him, do you want to use it? Advertisement? He said this. Whitebeard was immediately stunned. Not to be surprised, that's impossible. Whitebeard looks at Air, 66.99. He raised his head and took a few sips of wine, then he slammed the glass on the table. No, I'm not afraid of death, Whitebeard said boldly. Death is just another adventure. 5. Air listened, not only admired Whitebeard's extraordinary bearing. Cheers. The two clinked glasses fiercely and do their best. By the way, why did you come to me? You haven't said it yet. Air asked Whitebeard. He came here, not just for a casual drink. Whitebeard slapped his forehead, almost forgot. I have 2 new sons, do you want to come and see? He looked at Air expectantly. Air knows. Whitebeard knew he was dying soon. After knowing that they were dead, the Whitebeard pirates would definitely suffer a lot of ups and downs. This is done so that Air can take more care of him. Advertisement, Air said without hesitation. Okay. Whitebeard smiled happily. Then bring the 2 people to Air. Behind him, there is the Whitebeard pirates ship doctor, the captain of the first team, Marco the Phoenix. Marco wore a pineapple head and followed behind Whitebeard, greeting Air honestly. Mr. Air. Long time no see, Air smiled at him. Worried about your dad's body? Marco laughed. No way, he shouldn't drink anymore. Go. Don't delay me drinking. Whitebeard unceremoniously pulled Marco aside and let the 2 newcomers behind him meet Air. 813 This, 2nd Division Captain, Ace. This is the 2nd team member, Blackbeard. I told you about it last time. 35 standing in front of Air were Fire Fist Ace and Blackbeard Teach. Air thought in his heart that fate had entered its final track. Fire Fist Ace looked at Air with an unconvinced look on his face. And Blackbeard Teach is a very adoring expression. Goo ha ha ha, Whitebeard laughed. These 2 newcomers have very good eyes, 35. He said to the 2 newcomers, you are optimistic, the man in front of you is the legendary strongest man in the world, Air. Chapter 353 Blackbeard's Ambition. Ace greeted Air politely. It was an honor to meet you, Mr. Air, 35. He showed a hearty smile. But our father is the strongest man in the world. Whitebeard slapped Ace on the head. What are you talking about? Don't talk nonsense. He knew how terrible Air was, although the crew were all very admiring themselves. Whitebeard deeply understood that there was a huge gap between himself and Air. Air smiled nonchalantly. Blackbeard looked at Air cautiously, showing a humble smile. Lord Air. You are my idol. I have seen you for a long time. Whitebeard laughed. Goo ha ha. Yes, you are this guy's idol, 35. How about it? Air laughed too. Whitebeard, your crew, you're getting better. He thought about it and said, not only has strength, but also has ambition. When talking about ambition, Blackbeard's pupils shrank, as if he was being told something. But he was good at covering himself up, and immediately covered it with a smile. Don't look at how honest this guy Ace looks now, but he assassinated Dad hundreds of times and wanted to take him to the head, 35. Marco on the side said with a smile, advertisement. He mistakenly thought that what Air said was ambitious, it was Ace. The performance before embarking from the Ace also speaks volumes. Air laughed without saying a word. They won't believe what they say before the incident. And, Air wants to see too. Have yourself on the sea. What kind of storm can a guy like Blackbeard make? At this time, Blackbeard seemed to cautiously say to Air. Senior Air, I heard a rumor at sea. 5. Is it true that you are immortal? Everyone in the room was stunned when they heard Blackbeard's words. Hey, Blackbeard, what presumptuous things are you talking about? Ace said sternly. He is the captain of the 2nd team. Blackbeard of the 2nd Division said something he shouldn't have said, and of course he would reprimand him. Blackbeard quickly apologized and said, I'm sorry, I just heard the rumors. Air interrupted him and said lightly, not bad, it's the effect of op fruit. And, op fruit, is still on me. 35 Ace and the others were stunned. Advertisement Air didn't shy away from this kind of thing, and said it directly. Aren't you afraid of other people hitting on him? Mr. Air, is it really good to say that? 39 Ace asked in confusion. Air smiled. What's there to be afraid of? I'm right here, anyone who wants to challenge me, come here. His words are calm, but with an unparalleled hockey in them. Everyone was taken aback by his powerful hockey and confidence. A strange light flashed in Blackbeard's eyes. Ha ha ha. Whitebeard happily drank a big glass. As expected of Air, good money, 9. That's the only thing you can say. After a few words, Ace and the other 3 all left. Whitebeard and Air were left to drink. The room gradually became quiet. How? Whitebeard asked, looking at Air. Air nodded. Ace is good, just a little impulsive. As for Blackbeard, did you see it just now? Whitebeard nodded thoughtfully. Chapter 354 Whitebeard's worries. You're right, Blackbeard is well disguised. But when you were talking just now, he did have greedy thoughts. 55. Whitebeard said, although greed is a good quality of a pirate, but his kind is different. 5. Whitebeard knew it very well. Blackbeard took the initiative to ask about Air op fruit just now. This curiosity was completely different from Blackbeard's original performance. Expose him directly. The original Blackbeard was all honest, and seemed to have some ambitions, but it wasn't that big. But today, Whitebeard saw his huge ambitions hidden under the surface. Pirates, being ambitious is not a bad thing. Which pirate 830 doesn't have the dream of being the pirate king? Many of Whitebeard's sons were careerists. This guy Ace assassinated his father more than 100 times. Whitebeard didn't take it seriously. But these pirates, their ambitions are on the bright side. Blackbeard did the opposite, seemingly unambitious on the surface, but actually had no idea what he was planning. This kind of person is the most dangerous, and most likely to be a rebel. Air nodded. You can understand. Whitebeard said with emotion. I thought I was very good at looking people, but I didn't expect that people I looked up to would show their true colors in front of you so quickly. Advertisement, old. It's useless, Whitebeard said self-deprecatingly, taking a hard swig of beer. Air laughed. Whitebeard, you never say anything like that. Whitebeard was silent for a moment. This strong man across the sea, in front of Air, showed a little vulnerability. I really feel like I'm dying soon. I just hope my sons can stay together after I die. 39. There was a little tiredness in his eyes. Air reminded. Don't forget, op fruit is still in my hands. 99. Even if you don't plan to live forever, it's okay to help you heal. Whitebeard looked at Air and said moved. You are really a good brother of this old man. 35. Since Roger's death, it's rare to see old friends like you, added. Miss it. 35. The op fruit thing, forget it. With that, Whitebeard stood up. The tall body is like a mountain, but it swayed. His back looks so lonely at this time. Let's go, Air. I don't know when the next meeting will be. He strode out of the pub. Air didn't send him, just watched Whitebeard's back. Advertisement, come to me anytime if you change your mind. 9. He said lightly. Whitebeard paused for a moment, waved his hand, and left. Air knows. Some things may be unavoidable. For example, the ambitious Blackbeard and the impulsive Ace. One day, Whitebeard will realize that he still needs to protect his family. At that time, he will understand. From the pier outside, there was the sound of a big ship setting sail, and Whitebeard's hearty laughter. Goo ha 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 ha, sons, we're off. Yes, Daddy. Provoked a seagull's chirping, Air stood up and walked out of the pub. Looking at the vast expanse of the sea, thinking of my old friend, I have done a lot. Originally wanted to resurrect Rox. However, the whereabouts of Wangshen fruit has not been heard for a long time. I don't know if the Whitebeard group can find it for themselves before something big happens. Chapter 355 The sudden visit of Crocodile. A few days later. Air is fishing by the sea. He was sitting on a dangerous cliff with a fishing rod dozens of meters long. The cold sea breeze made the person's face hurt, and Air is happy. Nagley approached him cautiously, for fear of disturbing Air fishing. If you have something, just say it, Air said lightly. He knew that when there was no urgent matter, Nagley would not bother him. Nagley said to Air with some guilt. A ship is coming for you, do you want me to send them away? Who's on the boat? Air asked casually. What is it called, a Baroque work club? Nagley said in confusion. He usually accepts a lot of information, but he has never heard of any Baroque studios. Air's heart is like a mirror. Immediately I knew who was coming. One of the 7 warlords of the sea, Sir Crocodile. Logia fruit, sand fruit ability, is known as the king of the desert. This guy sounds great though. Advertisement, but the weakness is too obvious, that is, afraid of water. It's just that Air doesn't think he has had any handover with him either. I don't know why this person suddenly came to visit him. He thought about it. Let him come. Wait for him at the tavern. Air is also curious about what crocodile means. Nagli agreed immediately and went to the dock to arrange for the ship to dock. After 10 minutes, the tall crocodile walked into the tavern. He wears a large hockey back, with a horizontal scar on his face. With a cigar in his mouth, he looks like a gangster. On the right hand, there is also a golden hook, which is his weapon, the Sasori poison needle. Crocodile didn't come alone. Next to him was a tall and beautiful woman. She has a calm temperament, a graceful figure, and looks very elegant. Needless to say, it was Nico Robin, the son of demons, who was still working with Crocodile at the Baroque works. Air sat on the chair and watched the two men walk in calmly. Crocodile smiled as soon as he saw Air. Long time no see, Air. This is his mantra. Advertisement. Air's face was expressionless. What, long time no see? I and you don't seem to have anything to do with each other, right? 0. Ask for flowers. Air doesn't give Crocodile any face at all. Crocodile froze for a moment. He bragged in front of his hands, and he was very familiar with legendary pirates like Air. Air said that, making him a little embarrassed. Crocodile hurriedly made up for it himself. You really are a noble person who forgets things. I was there at the scene of Roger's execution back then. 0 there, it was the first time he saw the legendary Air take a shot. The war at that time made him extremely frightened, and until now, when he saw Air's face, he would feel a burst of panic. That's why he treated Air so respectfully. Air nodded and said, so that's the case, I almost can't remember. 99. Crocodile breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, Air got him down the steps in time. Otherwise, Crocodile would probably die here in embarrassment. Who is this? Air raised his eyelids and looked at Nico Robin. Crocodile quickly introduced. This is the vice president of our work, Miss. All Sunday, eat. Chapter 356 Crocodile's conspiracy. Hearing Crocodile calling Nico Robin by the codename, Air knew right away that there was something wrong with the two of them coming here today. They came with different intentions and were planning something. Air didn't break them down right away. Instead, he said calmly, you two, please sit down, would you like a drink? After a few chats with Air, Crocodile suddenly said to Air, it's like this, I'm about to take over a country recently, Alabasta, 830. I don't know if Mr. Air has heard of it? Air nodded. Of course, the superpower in the first half of the Grand Line, the royal family was also one of the 20 royal families that created the world government. Crocodile, your ambition is not small. Ha 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 ha. Crocodile clapped his hands and said, where, compared to Air's predecessors, it's not worth mentioning. I'm here this time to see how you manage your country after taking over the country. Don't you know how convenient it is? Air watched Crocodile quietly. Is Crocodile really that purpose? He doesn't see it. This should be just an excuse. Air wanted to see what medicine was being sold in the crocodile gourd. Of course, no problem. 99 Air said happily and stood up. Both of you, please. Crocodile grinned and followed behind Air. Advertisement. And Nico Robin is a step slower. Suddenly staggered a step. Oh, my foot hurts. I may not be able to walk. Crocodile looked back at Nico Robin and said reproachfully. What did you think, so careless, 55. He looked warm and angry. Forget it, you can rest here, Senior Air and I went to visit. Air watches the two act here. Heart sneer. Figure poor dagger saw. These two people, singing and reconciling, were obviously distracting him. Crocodile, who appears to be the main force, is responsible for spending Air. And Nico Robin, who looked injured, was in charge of the real action. Combine the identity of Nico Robin. It was already clear what they wanted to do. Nico Robin wants to find his historical text here. Moreover, the permanent pointer of the Island of God may also be their goal. Crocodile was a little nervous. After all, the person to be deceived is none other than the terrifying Air. Advertisement. Even if he is the overlord of a party, he can't help but be nervous. At the same time, he remembered the reason why he came here this time. Nico Robin joined the Baroque studio, and he had an agreement with him. Nico Robin helps Crocodile do things. Crocodile is responsible for helping Nico Robin find the historical text. They have not yet captured Alabasta, and Nico Robin has not seen the historical text hidden in it. In order to meet Nico Robin's conditions, Crocodile came up with this method. At the same time, he also wants Nico Robin to help him steal the permanent pointer to the Isle of God here at Air. 4.3 After all, Crocodile also has a dream of dominating the world. Their ideas sounded flawless. There's just something wrong. That is, they found the wrong person. Dare to come to Air's trouble is the most regretful decision in their life. Air walked forward seemingly normally, Crocodile followed. Nico Robin, get ready for action. Chapter 357 Time waits for no one, do it. Suddenly Air said, are your legs okay, Miss Nico Robin? Robin was stunned for a moment, just about to say that he was just doing some activity. Suddenly realized something was wrong. Air knows her real name. But she and Crocodile have never spoken. At the same time, Crocodile was also shocked to discover this. He immediately realized something was wrong. His eyes widened instantly. The body turns into sand. Crazy back. Senior Air, how did you know? Crocodile looked at Air warily and asked. Air turned around and looked at the two of them calmly. Of course it was recognized from the beginning. O3 son of the devil, Nico Robin, you say so, 99. He said this, and Robin's pupils shrank instantly. His face was full of shock, she couldn't figure it out. Compared to a legendary pirate like Air, he is just a nobody. Why does Air know her? Crocodile felt extremely bad. Both eyes narrowed. Advertisement looking Air up and down. It seems that conflict is inevitable. He is cunning, trying to find Air's flaws and launch an attack. But the Air in front of me is not that simple, he didn't even need to be on guard. Just standing there, it seems that the whole body is full of flaws. But Crocodile couldn't find his flaws. Air didn't care what the two of them thought. He just said lightly, you two, come to me, do you want to read the historical text? And a permanent pointer to the Valley of the Gods. Seriously, if you come here and ask me directly, I will show it to you. This stuff is amazing for other people, for me, it's not a big deal, 99. Listening to what Air meant, it seemed very forgiving. Crocodile and Robin relaxed for a while. In their hearts, they recalled Air's words. Were shocked. Air was able to guess the purpose of the two people exactly. It was terrifying. But, advertisement Air's conversation changed. You two, you want to deceive me, that's unbearable. Is that so, Crocodile? Crocodile saw this and knew the battle was inevitable. With a loud shout, Nico Robin, look for the pointer now. Robin listened and ran away. Crocodile stands in the way of Air. Desert Great Sword. Crocodile's arm instantly turned into sand. Countless yellow sands gathered like a storm, forming a huge, indestructible sword. Brush. The great sword was extremely fast, and it rushed in front of Air almost in an instant. 830. Success, Crocodile thought to himself. Air stood motionless, glanced at Crocodile like electricity. In that instant, Crocodile was out of his eyes. I saw disdain. Boom. Air doesn't even have to move. As soon as he stared, he immediately launched the terrifying Conqueror's Haki. Suddenly, black lightning directly hit both Crocodile and Robin. Crocodile was stunned by this terrifying Conqueror's Haki, and his hands and feet were cold. And Robin, who was even weaker, knelt directly on the ground and almost passed out. The yellow sand of Crocodile, because of the interference of the terrifying Conqueror's Haki, flowed weakly on the ground. Chapter 358 Pick Me Up, Save You from Dying. Crocodile looked at Air in disbelief. I am Shichibukai, a great pirate who can rule the sea. But at this moment, Air was shocked by Haki. There was a strong dissatisfaction in his eyes. Robin looked at Air in shock. I nearly passed out with Conqueror's Haki. Robin thought to himself, what a horrible person. I've never met such an awesome person in my life. She recalled the time when she met Qingqi. Qingqi is already Marine Admiral. But Qingqi gave Robin the impression that he was far less powerful than Air. Moreover, Crocodile, who has always been quite arrogant, was also vulnerable in front of Air. It simply changed Robin's worldview. She looked at Air in shock. Air stood there calmly. You two are really brave. He said lightly. Wanting to steal something, it actually reached Air's head. Have you eaten bear heart and leopard gall? Crocodile retreated frantically from the stunned state. Advertisement. The body turned into yellow sand. He retreated several dozen meters in a row, pulling away from Air. It's an instinctive reaction. But forget that, to Conqueror's Haki, this little distance is completely indistinguishable. Crocodile stabilized his mind and reluctantly said to Air, Senior Air, you are really amazing. This Conqueror's Haki is really enviable. In fact, Crocodile knew he had lost. After all, the one who was shocked by Conquerors just now couldn't move. But he is a face-loving man. This ended the fight. He was reluctant. Be sure to make a difference with Air. Air spoke quietly to Crocodile. Crocodile, you really can't cry without seeing the coffin. Well, I'll give you a chance to challenge me. Pick me up without getting hurt, and I'll spare you what you did today. Otherwise, pay the price. What do you think? When Crocodile heard this, he felt a little more confident in his heart. After all, although he can't beat Air, but do your best to dodge away, is it okay? After all, he is also a Logia devil fruit capable. Advertisement, Crocodile thought, looked up to Air and said, "Okay, come on, 55. Nico Robin watched from the side. Although her strength is not as good as Crocodile, at this time, the bystander is clear, and her heart is more sober than Crocodile. Knowing that Crocodile can't be Air's match, at this time, various ideas kept popping up in my mind. Think about your way back. Backquote, come on. Crocodile adjusted his breath and physical state. Get ready, speak to Air. Air, on the other hand, seemed to be much more relaxed. Stand casually. The supremely fast sword slaying the gods was also hanging on his waist, but he did not draw it out. Crocodile looked at Air. Good money, casually. I thought to myself, very good, there is a chance to lift it. Air is still too arrogant, as long as I pay full attention, I can dodge his attack. Yes, Crocodile didn't even think about making a move with Air, just dodging. After all, he had also experienced the horror of Air just now. The gap between the two is too great. He's Crocodile, not even Conqueror's Haki. How can I fight with Air? Chapter 359. A knife, serious injury. The moment Crocodile said, "Hands on," Air moved. His figure, like a black lightning, flashed away in the air. In the air, a white shockwave even erupted. On the spot, after a moment, only an afterimage was left. Air held the supreme sword in one hand to kill the gods. The strength of the whole body is condensed on the arm, and it is fully exerted. Take a knife to Crocodile. This knife made a thunderous roar in the air. The Black Conqueror's Haki and armament Haki wrapped around the blade, emitting a terrifying aura like a demon. Cut down with a knife. Crocodile runs observation Haki at full strength, but is still shocked by Air's terrifying speed. When he didn't even react to 830, Air was already in front of his eyes. Crocodile used up the fastest speed in his life, and madly retreated. The vast majority of the body has turned into yellow sand, flowing with the wind. But Air's black knives, like the gangrene of the Tarsus, follow him. In that brief moment, there was a trace of panic in Crocodile's eyes. In his mind, the picture of his life flashed in an instant. Brush. Advertisement. The blade slashed through a large area of yellow sand. Crocodile's body was forcibly grabbed by Haki and turned into an entity. Dopung blood, lacing out, added, bang, Crocodile fell weakly to the ground. Air retracted his knife and returned to the spot, not even a trace of bloodline on his body. And Nico Robin, who stood by and watched the game. Not even a single detail was seen. Just saw a flash of black light between Air and Crocodile, and then Crocodile gushed blood and fell. In her eyes, Air even stood there and didn't move. Robin was surprised. Air's speed is too fast, her eyes can't catch it. Even the Crocodile, which is far better than himself, was miserable like this. If she dares to fight with Air, the end will only be more miserable. Robin slumped weakly on the ground, lost the will to resist. The power gap between the two is too great. No matter what Air wanted to do to her, he was completely powerless to resist. Crocodile fell to the ground, with a large amount of blood spurting from the sides of his body, arms and thighs. He said weakly, as expected of Senior Air, he is really strong and terrifying. Advertisement. There is absolutely no way to fight back. 35. Although he was seriously injured, he remained basically calm. Fear of death without fear. Compared with many other pirates, he is more like a man. Crocodile's face turned pale, and his expression kept twitching. Apparently the stab wound was quite painful, for a Logia like him who rarely gets hurt. This kind of injury is more intolerable than ordinary people. Air looked at Crocodile lightly. Crocodile, you lost. As if nothing happened, he said lightly, now, pay the price. What's the price you pay? I'm curious. 5. Air awaits Crocodile's answer. Crocodile's mind was spinning. What should I do myself? Air made him pay the price and let him choose. So what price will I have to pay for Air to be satisfied? To be honest, Crocodile doesn't have a good answer in mind. Cut off your own fingers to make amends? This price, compared to his behavior of sneak attacking Air, is a little too light. Chapter 360. Robin's betrayal. Crocodile kept thinking. Bring your own studio to Irma? He was afraid that Air would dislike it. After much deliberation, what is more valuable to him is the control of Alabasta at most. It's a pity that he has not yet fully mastered the kingdom. For a moment, Crocodile fell silent. At this moment, Robin on the side suddenly spoke. Lord Air. She walked up to Air respectfully and said to him, in order to express my apologies to you, I decided to join your hands and work for you. 39. I suppose the devil's son that Marine is chasing still has some value, does it? Robin looked at Air with a smile. Yes, this is her life-saving strategy. Air didn't let Crocodile off, and of course he wouldn't let her off either. In order to save his life, Robin used his own specialties. That is betrayal. See people talking about people, see ghosts talking ghosts. Be adaptable. See the wind make the rudder. Without these skills, Nico Robin couldn't have survived under Marine's pursuit. At this time, facing the absolute force of air, advertisement. Of course she chose to betray Crocodile and join Air's side. Of course, Robin was still quite nervous. This trick doesn't necessarily work. Like this time, Air looked Robin up and down with scrutiny. Facing Air's sharp eyes, Robin was very nervous. Fine. Air thought about it and said to her, if that's the case, then you can stay here and be my secretary. 5. Robin is overjoyed. However, Air continued. Betrayal, is that your forte? Nico Robin. Robin froze when he heard Air's words. How would he know? Air continued to say lightly, it doesn't matter if you betray other people, but if you want to betray me here, it's impossible. Regretted, Robin, your freedom has been completely lost. Robin lowered his head and walked over to Air. Mixed feelings in my heart. At this moment, she didn't even know what she was feeling. There is both the fear of Air's strength and the confusion of losing his freedom. The strangest thing is that, for some reason, there is a sense of peace of mind. It was as if I had found a backer, a feeling I had never experienced in the first half of my life. 0. Ask for flowers. Advertisement. Crocodile on the ground watched Robin backhand and joined Air's camp. A wry smile appeared on his face. He certainly didn't care about Robin's betrayal. Originally, he and his subordinates used each other. Even if Robin doesn't betray him, he will also abandon Robin directly one day after she loses her usefulness. 0. Crocodile has done nothing less for his career. However, at this moment, a light flashed in his mind. Yup. Robin was able to betray himself and join Air's side. He can too. Thinking of this, Crocodile smiled. He said to Air, Senior Air, I have already thought about how to make amends. Air looked at him condescendingly. Tell me. Crocodile had an odd smile on his face. I want to lead our entire Baroque workshop and join your pirate group. 35. I don't know what the adults think. Air looked at Crocodile and smiled suddenly. This guy is also cunning enough. You say that? All the previous achievements are gone? Chi?